Chapter 76 Across the table full of sumptuous dishes, I saw 3 people sitting at the table. One was a burly man with silver hair. His tough face was angular, and his cat-like eyes were slightly upturned like kilowatts. He sat in the middle of the rectangular dining table, exuding a kingly aura, yet looking at me with a gentle expression. If nothing unexpected happened, this person should be the head of the Zoldyck family, Illumi's father. The person sitting on his right was a tall, slender woman with a bandage wrapped all over her face, wearing glasses with only one part of them shining red, a gorgeous long dress with lace edges, and a big hat of the same color on her head. She was covered tightly from head to toe, with almost no skin exposed to the air except for the collarbone. Judging from her clothes and sitting position, this person should be Illumi's mother. When Hisaka dressed in women's clothes, I secretly complained about her style. Now, compared with her dress, his seemed less exaggerated. The third person sitting next to the woman was a little girl who looked only about 4 or 5 years old. She wore a small Japanese kimono, with short hair hanging down to her jaw on her pale round face, which somewhat resembled mine. Her dark eyes looked at me from afar without hesitation, and there was no light in her eyes that a child should have. "Is this Lady Amber? I often hear my son mention you. It is an honor to meet you in person today." As Illumi and I approached, the man sitting in the middle stood up and pulled out a chair for me. His demeanor was calm and composed, but the powerful aura that could not be concealed by any expression made him, standing in front of me, like an immovable wall. His nearly 2-meter height forced me to look up, and his solid muscles under his short sleeves showed smooth, bulging lines. Shocked by such an aura, I felt guilty that a venerable man would bow to a commoner. Without hesitation, I bowed quickly and said, "Hello. I am Amber." Thank you for your courtesy. You really don't have to be so polite to me. Don't be so formal, he smiled and said. Just treat this place as your own home. Although you should have heard Illumi say that we are a family of killers, we are still very friendly to our friends. After I sat down obediently, he continued to introduce me. I am Illumi's father, Silva Zoldyck. The one next to me is my wife, named Kikyo, and the one on the far right is my youngest son, named Kalito. Dear little girl, welcome to our Zoldyck family. Have you eaten? We were in such a rush today, and the hospitality was not refined enough. I don't know if the food suits your taste. That guy Maluki. He was so rude to guests. I will definitely punish him when I get back. I must. She said in a strange shrill voice that perfectly matched her outfit, until Kalito, sitting next to her, raised his hand and tugged at the hem of her skirt. Mother. Oh, I'm so rude. I'm talking to myself like this. She was startled and covered her mouth with the folding fan in her hand. No, it's okay. I just came by unexpectedly, and you received me so warmly. I'm very grateful. I stammered, unsure how to respond. Mom has always been like this, Kalito said calmly, with a steadiness completely inconsistent with his age. So, Mr. Zoldyck just mentioned a son, so Kalito is a boy, right? I asked cautiously. He lowered his thick long eyelashes, casting a small shadow on his face, and nodded slightly at me. Amidst the slightly exaggerated enthusiasm, Illumi remained silent. Silva and Kikyo were both very friendly, especially Silva. From beginning to end, he asked me about my life and trivial matters with genuine concern but without prying. He spoke as naturally as an elder talking to his own daughter. Gradually, the atmosphere eased me, and I unconsciously formed a good impression of this gentleman. It's my son's honor to have a friend like you. After a bit of conversation during the meal, the atmosphere grew particularly harmonious. Silva smiled gently, patted my shoulder, then turned to Illumi and said, Illumi, I'm very happy you invited Amber today. Hearing this, Illumi slowly raised his head, and the knife in his hand made a harsh sound on the dinner plate. He turned to me as if he hadn't heard, and said, speaking of which, Hisaka is now in a city far from here. I'm afraid he won't be able to arrive in a few days. Why don't you use your ability to bring him here directly? That would save us waiting." Illumi and I looked at each other, searching for something unusual in his eyes, some hidden meaning, but there was no change in his expression, as if he hadn't spoken those words to me earlier. I thought for a moment, then replied with some guilt, "Although I really want to, I'm sorry, my ability requires complicated conditions to work. And please forgive me for not being able to share more, because it's bound to my life. If I make a wish without meeting the conditions, not only will the wish fail, but I myself could be sacrificed." I lied to Illumi with a sincere expression. He reached out and touched my head expressionlessly, then glanced at Silva and said, "I guess I'll just wait for Hisaka." "That's fine." Silva's demeanor didn't change. He said in the same gentle tone as before, "There's no rush in the coming days." After lunch, Illumi found an excuse to take me away from Kukuru Mountain back into the nearby city. We met Hisaka under the awning at the entrance of a cold drink shop. As if sensing our arrival, he leaned over the back of a chair, crossed his legs, and greeted us from a distance. He was supposed to be a pervert, but this posture made him look like a gangster. "Little Apple," he called me, waving me over. "It's been so long since we met. Have you missed your master? Come over so the master can check if you've grown taller." I immediately got goosebumps all over. "It's been so long, but you're still as perverted as ever, Hisaka." We walked over, and Illumi pulled a chair out for me. I wasn't in the mood to chat, so I pushed the chair a bit away from Hisaka, sat down, and asked, "Since Hisaka is here, that means everything at dinner was a lie, right? Illumi, what's going on?" "Huh?" Hisaka seemed genuinely puzzled. He snorted and looked curiously at Illumi when he heard my question. "It's simple. Your parents are targeting you," Illumi said. "Hisaka, could you please go to the dessert shop in the next town and buy me a cup of hot bubble milk tea with grass jelly? I have something to discuss with Amber alone." Upon hearing this, Hisaka's smile froze. He hesitated a moment, then recovered and said unhappily, "You're really bossy." "Same here," Illumi replied, expression unchanged. Once Hisaka disappeared obediently, Illumi suddenly turned and threw a needle behind a nearby building. It was so fast I hardly registered it until a young girl in a black suit collapsed behind the building. "That was the spy Mom sent to monitor me," Illumi said matter-of-factly. "This is serious. Mom and Dad won't let this go, but to make you understand, I have to tell you a secret the Zoldyck family has never shared with outsiders." He looked at me with deep black eyes, darker than usual. I frowned slightly, waiting intently for the rest. "In fact, there is a fifth child in the Zoldyck family, something we have never explored, an existence completely foreign to common sense, from another world. The child's name is Aluka, and she is Killua's twin. I don't have time for details now, but you just need to know she has the power to grant wishes, and destroy everything. Because of how dangerous she is, she's been locked in the mansion basement by our father for years. And now that they know your ability, they want to use you to control her power." "What?" I asked, stunned by the flood of information. He continued, stroking my head, "They want me to control you. If they want the power to control that child, your death is inevitable. This is all for the Zoldyck family's advancement. If we can harness Aluka's power, what we gain is beyond imagination. There's no question about it." He paused, still gently stroking my hair. Even though his tone remained calm, I sensed a hint of emotion. "But you will die. Your ability is similar to Aluka's, but also different. When she grants a wish, someone else pays the price. Your power? You bear the cost yourself." "I have never thought of that thing as family." He kept stroking my face, his cold thumb under my eye, lifting my chin to force me to meet his gaze. "But I've long thought of you as my sister. So I devised a perfect plan." He paused, then offered a gentle, shallow smile I'd never seen before. It made me shudder. My mind cleared, and fear flickered in my eyes as I stared at him. I will wish to Aluka, so that you take her place, and become the fourth child of the Zoldyck family, a true member. Chapter 77 After staying in this strange world for a long time, no matter how incredible things get, I've grown accustomed to them. According to the information, our target this time is a gem merchant named Juarta, one of the most famous figures in the global gemstone industry. He spent years traveling between countries in the gem trade, amassing a massive fortune. His main business is ore mining. He owns mines in multiple locations worldwide, what people call having a mine at home. In addition to mining, he runs over a dozen gem processing factories, handling tasks like cutting, polishing, heat treatment, and so on. He then sells these processed gems for further refinement and distribution. I saw his photo in the file. Surprisingly, from appearance alone, Juarta doesn't look particularly wealthy. He's dressed in a simple black suit that looks slightly faded, without any flashy jewelry. The only hint of affluence is a watch peeking out from behind the wrinkled cuff of his shirt. In the photo, Juarta is thin, with sunken eye sockets and high cheekbones. His black, cloudy eyes glare warily at the photographer. He raises one hand as if to shield his face from the camera, but he's captured before he can do so. This frightened-looking man in the photo is the target of the mission that has kept Illumi busy for over 6 months, and he hasn't succeeded in eliminating him yet. The airship slowly headed toward another city. Hisoka and I sat by a window while Illumi explained the mission. After listening, I understood why these two powerful individuals couldn't deal with Juarta, even together. Juarta lives in an underground world with no sunlight, even mosquitoes can't intrude. He built 3 underground palaces several kilometers deep near each of his mines. These massive complexes are like isolated subterranean worlds. They feature high-tech equipment, rigid identification and screening systems, independent networks, reliable internal logistics, sustainable operations, and full entertainment facilities, all enabling him to live below ground for years, even decades, without emerging. He's reportedly been above ground only twice in the past 2 years. Illumi had tried repeatedly to infiltrate his territory. First, he manipulated a cargo worker entering the site, but the worker vanished at the entrance. He made several more attempts, but all failed. Listening devices and hidden cameras he planted were discovered at the entrance. Eventually, Illumi himself disguised as staff but failed fingerprint identification and caused a commotion, forcing him to kill guards and retreat. A large-scale invasion was unrealistic, and the target is completely unreachable. Illumi lamented that he'd taken on a mission with no profit. Notably, those familiar with Juarta know his twisted hobby, collecting living specimens and dissecting young girls, a truly perverse murderer. Illumi once tried to send Kalito, disguised as a girl, but the deception failed during security checks. Since then, no solution has been found, and time keeps slipping by. The identity of our employer is secret, Illumi said, but my mission was simple: sneak in as new cargo and use my ability to bring Illumi and Hisoka inside. I questioned why he couldn't just teleport them in from outside and insisted I go in with him. Illumi explained, the underground network isn't connected to the outside world. If something goes wrong inside, they wouldn't be able to communicate or call me. Technically my ability could solve this, but if I made a wish outside, who would care for me during the coma? Zoldyck family spies are everywhere. If they caught me while unconscious, it would spell disaster. Even if Illumi and Hisoka escaped, it would be too late. So after weighing everything, Illumi decided sending me in was safer, reducing my comas and minimizing risk. His argument made sense, so I agreed. The day before, midday. That was the day Hisoka ran to the next town for milk tea, and Illumi pretended to gouge my eye and declared I'd replace Aluka. I punched Illumi. When my fist swung toward his face, he didn't dodge, his expression merely flickered with surprise. He probably didn't expect it. Honestly, I didn't either. Because the punch wasn't mine, it was thrown by Vera. Her reaction was faster than mine. After hitting me, she muttered, "I hate you," and vanished, leaving chaos in her wake. I stared blankly for a moment before coming to. I found myself drenched in sweat. Help! I'd been given a villa to live in, and they came to rescue me if I was in danger, but why had Vera just beaten me? Illumi's face was red, blood at the corner of his mouth. He hadn't even blocked the punch, and I could feel how strong it was. My first instinct, apologize profusely. This mirror business can't be explained in a few words. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Something happened. That wasn't me just now. It's not what you think. Illumi, are you okay? I'm sorry, truly, I didn't mean to hit you. Since meeting Matilda last time, Vera had ignored me completely. She'd only respond based on mood. Without proof of her existence, telling others this would seem like a desperate lie. Illumi wiped his mouth calmly, then asked me, "Don't you want to?" No, I stammered in guilt, not thinking, just denying reflexively. Then I realized the meaning behind his question, and swallowed my words. Replace the fourth Zoldyck child? That meant I'd replace Aluka, become Illumi's sister, Killua's twin, a Zoldyck too. Had the warmth I felt from the family before been a lie? I don't understand. Regardless, Aluka is your younger brother. If you make me replace him, what about him? I asked hesitantly. You worry about Aluka? Illumi's eyes widened. His face was puffed, but his expression stayed calm. Why? You don't even know him or seen him. I said Aluka is different. His power can't be controlled, it'd bring disaster to the family. It even hinders Killua becoming a true assassin. That's why I planned to needle wipe his memory. If needed, I'd kill him. You don't see him as your brother? Yes. Illumi answered without hesitation. Because the Zoldycks forbid family to kill each other. But, I said sadly, you have a method to control him now. You mean controlling you? Illumi asked calmly. Yes, that method exists. The intersection between you and Aluka could complement each other. Maybe overcome everything. You could reshape the world, he said calmly. But also destroy it. Mother and father won't allow Aluka to be taken. No one wants you two to meet. You'd alter the world's rules, become unstoppable. If you meet, I'm sure one of you, or both, would die. Maybe the world too. I actually disagree with what mother and father do, he admitted. An omnipotent power without constraint isn't achievable by fantasy. Without control, it demands a greater price. So either maintain status quo or remove one of you. That's my conclusion. And why did I choose you? Simple, I weighed the pros and cons. Gaining Aluka's power at your cost isn't worth it. He didn't seem bothered by the punch. He propped the healthy side of his face, and continued, letting you replace Aluka has more upsides. Though it defies our parents' orders, I don't think you can remove Aluka's constraints. You could die, and Aluka might change into something unpredictable. That's bad for me and the family. Even if it's mere speculation, once real, it's irreversible. I listened to Illumi's analysis and finally glanced a clearer picture. In short, Aluka has wish-granting ability like me, but her price is harsher. So they locked her up. Recently Silva and Kikyo learned of my ability and connection to Illumi, and ordered him to needle me into wishing to harness and control Aluka. But he predicted it wouldn't work, and refused. His solution, make me replace Aluka, formally joining the Zoldyck family. That way, I'd avoid Silva's pursuit and resolve the threat Aluka poses, killing two birds with one stone. After I voiced my interpretation, Illumi paused, then nodded. You're right. But I don't think it's necessary to go through all that. You don't even need to make a wish to Aluka. I can handle this myself, I said. With a wish, people unrelated will forget my power. I paused. I don't want to replace anyone or take over someone else's life. So I'm sorry, Illumi, but I can't agree. I have other important things to do. My voice trembled with sadness, from many sources. Just then, Hisaka whistled frivolously and snapped his fingers. He walked over and handed the milk tea to Illumi. Seems you two had a deep conversation, he said casually. Then smiling, he looked at me and said to Illumi, but I know eavesdropping isn't gentlemanly. So sadly, I didn't hear your discussion. But Illumi, you won't forget what I told you, right? Of course. Illumi stared at a distant clock tower, pushed the drink toward me, and said without looking away, I only hope you stop lying. A silent scent of smoke and medicine hung between them. Chapter 78-. Because we'd never tested making someone lose their memory with a wish, we had no idea how long the coma would last. However, eager to complete this long-delayed mission, we stuck to the plan and sent me as cargo into Juarta's palace. We'd deal with the Zoldyck posse later. There was a simpler way, of course, wishing Juarta directly to us. But Illumi said that Juarta was just one of his many aliases. Nobody knows his real name, so my ability probably couldn't lock onto him accurately. Still, he let me try. After 3 minutes unconscious, a cute Shiba Inu appeared wagging its tail, wearing an ID tag that read Juarta. That was proof enough. Plan dropped. Hisaka and Illumi laid out my orders. My top priority was protecting myself at all costs. Secondary, get close to Juarta, then use my ability to teleport Illumi and Hisaka in. I felt uneasy. Why not just teleport Illumi and Hisaka in from outside? Illumi explained that the underground palace lacked outside comms. If things went south, they wouldn't reach me. I could save them, but waking from a coma alone among Zoldyck spies would get me captured. Even if they escaped, it'd already be too late. So he insisted I go in with them. The logic was sound, and I agreed. Flashback, new day, noon. That day, Hisaka had gone out for bubble milk tea. Meanwhile, Illumi pretended to gouge my eye and declared I would replace Aluka. And I punched Illumi, though not of my own volition. The fist came from Vera, who struck swiftly and disappeared, muttering I hate you. I found myself sweating, dazed, confused why she attacked me despite being under their protection. Illumi bled slightly but did not defend, his expression calm. I apologized desperately, trying to explain the mirror incident and Vera's role. He wiped his mouth, then asked simply, you don't want it? If you want me to replace Aluka, I won't, I said firmly, feeling the family's earlier warmth dissolve. What about Aluka? His expression stiffened. Aluka is different, uncaged, uncontrollable. She's a threat to our way of life. I plan to erase her mind, or worse. You don't see her as your brother? I asked, dismayed. Illumi nodded. The Zoldycks forbid familial murder. But her ability could be catastrophic. The families locked her up. He paused. I have a way to control you, to surpass Aluka. Together, you could unmake the world, or remake it. Mother and father won't risk that. His words chilled me. He outlined his calculation. I offset Aluka's threat more safely. He confirmed my theory, that Silva and Kikyo had learned of my powers and ordered Illumi to force me to control Aluka, but he refused. His idea, let me replace Aluka, join the family officially, resolve the danger, and escape Silva's grasp. But I can handle this myself. I don't want to be anyone's replacement, I said, filled with sadness. Before Illumi could reply, Hisaka whistled. He appeared, delivering milk tea. You two having deep talk? He teased. He turned to Illumi. You'll remember what I said, right? Of course, Illumi replied, pushing the drink to me. He said, just stop lying. The air felt heavy, thick with unsaid truth. Back in present, we transported me in a human trafficking ruse. Illumi had 6 months ago prepared photos of me, even disguised Hisaka in women's clothes, and sent them to traffickers. My appearance fit Juarta's preference for 6-8-year-old girls. Although I was 11, I still looked younger. The sack was dragged, sold, I heard bargaining, the bag opened. A ferocious old man with mouse eyes and missing fingers grabbed me, pinched my cheek. He smelled of cigarettes, alcohol, fish. I glanced at Illumi, expressionless as ever. He handed over money, praised Illumi, then disappeared under my feet. The old man mocked him, had me handed off and tied up in a truck. For 3 days, we were locked with 5 crying girls in a small, but not cruel, room. Food and water were provided. Twice we left, once for a medical check, once for showering. The doctor, a cold woman with pale doll-like face and dark pink ponytail, scanned me coldly before signing off. The girls sobbed nightly. I couldn't watch them suffer. I couldn't let them die silently. On day 3, we were loaded onto another truck. When the doors opened again, we entered a closed room with shiny tile walls and 3 machines in front. A short boy in a black suit barked orders, "Line up for inspection. Fear me or your brother will kill you." Pale, ghostly, he tested us in 3 rooms. I guided smaller girls through, reassuring them. Surprisingly, none of it triggered my nen. They hadn't anticipated a nen user in a child's form. Dressed in hospital gowns and barefoot, we walked down a sloped corridor. A tall exotic woman in a black suit escorted us into an elevator. It plunged us deeper for over 10 minutes, then opened. A long-haired man in a high bun and black suit awaited us. The corridor had glass-walled rooms, each empty but for chairs and tables. No horrors. Finally, a large chamber, white carpet and piles of plush toys. 2 gauzy bunks lined the walls, beads hanging outside curtains. It looked like a nursery, not a tomb. I rubbed my eyes red to match the others. The girls clutched dolls. The glass doors slid shut. They quieted and started playing softly. 2 girls slept in a bunk. I waited, alert. Then, Juarta arrived, with bodyguards. He appeared plumper than in pictures, but his fearful eyes were unmistakable. He entered with candies, snacks, a doll, a pink hairpin. The girls watched, curious but cautious. Where the vicious old man had stood, a gentle uncle now sat among them. Perfect, this was my cue. I hesitated. Teleporting now meant a coma, 5 unarmed children around me, risk immediate collateral. If I misjudged, we'd all perish. Better to wait, find a quieter moment, alone with Juarta. He approached me, smiling. "Hello." He offered candy and dolls. "Hello, uncle." I blinked innocently. He patted my head. "Don't worry. I'm a magician. Tell me what you want, and I can make it happen." He said the same to the other girls. They asked, "Can I see mommy and daddy?" He answered warmly, "Of course. Magic takes time. Play today, I'll bring you to them in a few days." No malice, just deceit. He stayed for 3 days, playing, feeding, comforting. On the 4th day, the girls no longer feared him. They crowded the door, expecting new stories, snacks, toys. When it opened, Juarta stood outside. His voice soft. "The magic is complete. Today, a child will meet their parents. Who wants to go first?" My heart stopped. The real dissection was about to begin. Chapter 79-. From being sold to traffickers by Illumi, to infiltrating the underground, being imprisoned, and playing house in a glass chamber with Juarta for 3 days, all happened more smoothly than I dared hope, as if some mysterious force was guiding us toward a fateful conclusion. A place long untouched by outsiders, a fortress even Illumi couldn't breach, yet I had sneaked in. It felt like a single rogue gear could send the whole machine crashing. Over those days, I saw occasional flickers of sadness in Juarta's eyes. He seemed to want us to be happy, yet was compelled to keep us locked away. The magic is complete. Today, one child will meet their parents. Who wants to go first? Juarta stood by the glass door, hand raised in invitation, voice gentle and smiling. The girls paused, timid, until I silently slipped forward, tugged his sleeve, puffed my cheeks, and looked up at him with pleading eyes. I had to make him choose me, to give me a chance to save the others. 9 days had passed since mission prep began. Illumi and I had agreed on a 10-day deadline after my handoff. Beyond that, they'd resort to other measures to find me. I suspected he meant Aluka, the Zulp's ultimate trump card, Illumi's last resort. Silva and Kikyo were said to never want to use her power again. I shuddered thinking of her. She has wish-granting ability like mine, but lives locked underground, while I roam free. Illumi treats me like a sister, yet sees Aluka, his blood, as a disaster. He said I couldn't meet Aluka, but I wonder, is there truly nothing I can do to help her? Suddenly, I shook my head and refocused. I'd lost direct contact with Illumi and Hisaka. I was on my own now. I'd planned, let myself be the first target, lead Juarta to a secluded spot, then call in Illumi and Hisaka. Or, maybe I didn't need them at all. I could kill Juarta, then teleport the girls myself. But could I go through with it? I'd already left the glass room and was being led by 2 black-suited guards down the hallway. My bare feet felt the cold floor until it chilled my stomach. Yes, it was happening. I'd made Juarta pick me. Even so, he didn't follow right away. He likely had preparations. I walked between the guards, stark in my hospital gown, as if chains weighed down each step. What was the best choice? I knew I could kill him. Once he was near, I'd have countless chances. I trusted Illumi's intel. Juarta collected specimens for dissection. He would kill slowly, preserve bodies, except maybe one. We wandered through maze-like corridors before reaching another glass room. Inside, an operating table and medical supplies lined the cabinets. A mask-clad doctor in a white coat emerged. "Is it this child?" he asked the guards. "Yes. The master insists." "Understood." He waved them off and grabbed my arm. "Be good, when you wake, you'll have anything you want. This injection won't hurt." He began pulling me toward the table. Alarmed, I broke free. "Where's that uncle? He said he'd accompany us. How can magic happen without the magician?" "Magician." The doctor chuckled, hand grazing my cheek. "Cold, rough." He muttered, "The master wants the specimen intact." He sniffed the arm I'd offered. "It's wonderful." His words chilled me. I realized, I wasn't the specimen, others were already on the table. He was preserving the bodies. Nerves tightened through me. He prepped a syringe. I sat on the table's edge, voice steady. "What did you mean?" He recoiled, gentle mockery in his tone. "Don't talk so much, kids get scared easily." The guards stared from the door. He moved to inject me. I waited for the moment, snatched the syringe, and pressed the needle's tip to his throat. His thin frame blocked view from the guards. I didn't hesitate, quiet. The syringe disappeared. He faltered. I twisted his arm, applied pressure. "Can you nod?" I threatened. He complied. A guard shouted from outside. I forced the doctor to order them away, threatening his life. Trembling, he sent them off. I'm fine. The master requires 2 balls of thread and needles for the specimen. Go now. I pressed further. "Where's Juarta?" "If you go to the end of this corridor, past the 2 prep rooms, he's in the autopsy chamber. Transparent walls. No guard. He hates being watched while dissecting. The previous girl is inside." "Are there more children here?" "No, just the 6 of you and the previous girl." "So what was the injection for?" "Anesthetic. He wants intact bodies, no scars. You'd fall asleep. Same for the others." I injected the doctor. He collapsed instantly. I smashed the glass door and raced along the corridor, ability ready, but seconds later, I froze at the door of the autopsy room. Through transparent walls, two giant glowing fish skeletons floated. Duarte's body, half of his head and flesh suspended among misty bones. A girl lay on the tilted table, body muffled, I couldn't see fully. Blood and mire coated the walls. My heart turned to stone. He rushed out. Duarte was gone, the girl was gone. A man, cross-legged in a leather chair, closed his book. Calm, almost amused. His dark eyes swallowed the white room. He looked at me, not startled, but assessing, and calmly stood. I darted to the table. No body remained. I was too late. Shouts approached, alarms. The man picked up Duarte's severed arm, fingerprint intact, and pressed it to a reader. With a click, a hidden door slid open behind us onto a dark corridor. Without a word, he grabbed my hand and led me inside. The path vanished behind us. Hey hunters. Quick cult break. And you know what's up now. I can't waste my precious facts here. So think about your life choices for a bit. And let's keep going. Chapter 80. The man was incredibly strong. His bony fingers pinned over my mouth and nose, nearly suffocating me. I struggled, but he didn't relent, until the secret door sealed behind us. A cacophony of screams erupted outside, and he finally released me. I gasped for air, tears flooding my eyes. I crouched, breathing heavily. A medicinal stench lingered in the passage. The man tossed Duarte's severed hand into a corner, then touched the wall. As he advanced, warm yellow lights flicked on overhead, illuminating a narrow corridor that opened into a large stone-walled room. At the threshold, he paused, turning toward me, his expression cold and unreadable. "You killed that girl?" I asked. "Girl?" he replied calmly. "She was dead when I entered. But the fish, those bones, I saw Duarte in that flesh. I tried to maintain control." He answered without hesitation, "My name is Krilo Lucifer," he smiled. "They call me the captain." His casual admission steadied my nerves. I took a step forward. "Why kill Duarte?" He shrugged. "To take what I wanted. Does killing need a deeper reason?" His male voice echoed in the hall, ominous. I gripped the question that tormented me. "Do you know someone named Lyra?" I thought of the Marine Animal Protection Group, the boy in Illumi's basement, and whispers of her everything pointed here. He paused. "Fish?" He closed his eyes, then shook his head. "I don't know her." "Don't lie," I accused, recalling the glowing fish bones. "That was your ability, wasn't it?" He stared back, calm and unreadable, his dark eyes like deep brine. He explained, "It's called Secret Room Fish. Perfect for covert retrievals in confined spaces." My suspicions hardened. I squeezed more. "Someone said, the fish that die in the wild will be reborn in the secret room." His eyes flickered open at that line. He was gaunt, white gauze binding his head, angular features like a Michelangelo sculpture. Black suit, open collar. He asked quietly, "Do you know him?" "Who?" I wasn't sure what the pronoun referred to, Lyra, her, or the fish speaker. He responded only by entering the secret room. He parted the soft yellow lamp light, revealing glass jars lined on one side. Inside, suspended girl specimens, a dried corpse in an iron cage, another girl's skin preserved like a doll, jars of organs, and an empty crystal coffin. My stomach roiled. I deflected my gaze. A monster who deserved this end. These were children, recycled hope turned grotesque trophies. Duarte's smiling facade had betrayed them all. I sank into despair. He ignored pity or repulsion. Instead, he moved to a bookshelf, took out a wooden box, clicked it open, and held it up. Inside rested a black and crimson flower. "The Mary flower," he explained. An extinct species, rare as they come. The reason I came. He sat upon the crystal coffin. No one outside can access this chamber. I've hacked surveillance. Once those people leave, I'm gone. If you want to exit safely, don't mess things up. He looked at the coffin. This was meant for you. Why know so much? Did you kill Juarta? I demanded. Yes, he's dead. I came for the flower. So you weren't working for him? He nodded. Not at all. And that girl? He sighed. Dead before I got here. What does it matter to you or me? I clenched my fists. It matters, I tried to save her. You didn't get the chance, he said simply. I swallowed anger, sadness cresting. You're right. I shouldn't expect you to care. I sat at a desk, head sagging. A bandaged intruder stole in to grab a flower, and killed the boss. His fish ability matches the rumor. They spoke of the fish that die in the wild, reborn to devour intruders. He untied his bandage and revealed a black cross mark centered on his forehead. He watched me, asking, "Where did you hear that line?" I replied, "From someone very important." Next, I demanded, "You know nothing about the fish?" He confirmed, "Yes." How did you enter this fortress? His response, "With my abilities." Confused, I pressed, "But your fish ability is inside. How does that get you in?" He smirked, "I never claimed that it was my ability." Silence followed. I stared at him, heart pounding. He broke in, "I didn't come here to bargain. I'm answering to stall. But if you don't obey, understand this, I can kill again. Not just you." His calm, his words, sent a cold rush down my spine. Chapter 81 Now, it's my turn to ask questions. Krilo Lucifer looked at me and spoke calmly. I didn't say anything. Where did you hear this? He continued, unfazed by my silence. From the man named Fish I just told you about. Who is he? He looks like a normal teenager, wearing a white shirt. His hair is black, and he said his name is Lyra. If you try to hide too many things, you'll expose more obvious flaws. He stared at me with those eyes that seemed to see straight through my heart. After a moment's hesitation, I sighed in resignation. Another piece of information is that the man seems to work for an organization called the Marine Animal Protection Association. Thank you very much for your answer. Krilo softly laughed. The oppressive tension in the air eased, and the coldness in his face warmed. Although I had already guessed this, thanks to your information, I can now confirm it. What answer? I asked warily, anxiety stirring at the thought that he might have uncovered more than me. You mean, you know this organization? He nodded, seeming in good spirits. Are you or have you ever been a member of this organization? He shook his head. No. I remember. You said that fish swimming in a secret chamber is not your ability, but you can use it. So this ability belongs to someone else. I'm sorry, but I can't answer that question. So, my mind began connecting the dots. Even without his confirmation, I trusted my own reasoning. So, you and the fish do not know each other, but you both know of secret fish swimming in a chamber and the Marine Animal Protection Association. That means there's a third person. That person you both know should also work for that organization, and their ability is almost certainly secret fish swimming in a chamber. You are very smart. Krilo offered light praise rather than denial. While it was satisfying to unravel the mystery, I sensed there was more, something deeper yet unrevealed. We lapsed into silence again. I leaned sideways in the chair and glanced at the wooden table in front of me. Scattered documents, a computer, water cups, pens, and other small items littered its surface. Suddenly, I noticed a wooden photo frame hidden behind a stack of papers. I pushed them aside, sat up, and picked up the frame. The photo, Juarta holding a little red-haired girl. In the photo, Juarta looked far younger than the man I'd seen in the underground palace. Both wore bright smiles, basking in sunlight by a clear stream and lush lawn. The girl's two braided red locks glowed like ruby, stray hairs dancing in the breeze. Her smile was pure, free of worry, innocent and joyful, calling softly to the world. I froze. Could that smiling man holding the little girl truly be Juarta, the perverted murderer? They looked so happy and carefree. I flipped the photo over. Faded pen marks, June 8, 2009, taken on an outing with Angelina. 5 years ago. So the girl's name is Angelina? I looked at Curlo. He had taken out a black notebook and was reading quietly. Voices outside had faded, and he gave no indication of moving. Beneath the photo frame lay a thick notebook, Juarta's diary, the cover signed with his name. Impolite as it was to read someone else's diary, my curiosity won. I glanced again at Curlo. He wasn't watching me, so I flipped it open. The notebook was worn, yellowed, as thick as a dictionary. I skimmed entries in neat handwriting. April 4, 1984. Angelina has been in this world for 2 months. Today, I begin a diary. I can't find a better way to record my mixture of sadness and joy. This little girl is a treasure from God, my angel. I will give her all the beauty in the world, let her grow without pain, live like a princess in a fairy tale. Yes, I named her Angelina, messenger from heaven. August 21, 1984. Ida has been dead for 6 months. My poor daughter. The world was cruel to her. Now only little Angelina remains. God, please let me, at least while I live, care for everything this pure-eyed child will need. I don't ask for years, just enough time. And I miss Ada. I hope she is well in heaven. January 1, 1985. Angelina can now walk on her own and calls me Grandpa in a cute voice. Everyone loves this quirky little girl. If Ada were here, she'd be proud and happy for her daughter, just as I am. September 30, 1985. Today Angelina seemed unhappy. She asked why leaves fall in autumn. She's the smartest child I've ever met. I said they go back to sleep underground and will return in spring. March 12, 1986. Today, Angelina almost cried. She swallowed a watermelon seed and feared a watermelon would grow in her stomach. July 20, 1987. Angelina is as kind as her mother. When the canary died, she cried, buried it herself, digging with her chubby hands, red from crying. May 22, 1988. Angelina always dispels my gloom like a little sun. Today, I had business woes, and my expression was serious, until Angelina ran over and said, "The big bad wolf is coming." The little white rabbit wants to open the door for the big bad wolf. We laughed. I felt 10 years younger. June 3, 1989. Angelina has grown greatly. She inherited Ada's thick red hair like a cute witch. The thought that she might leave and marry someday makes me feel empty. If anyone dares to hurt my little princess, I'll never let them off. February 4, 1990. Today is Angelina's birthday and Ada's death anniversary. I'm happy and sad. Angelina turned 6 today. Ada, are you okay in heaven? Are you watching over Angelina? June 8, 1990. I took Angelina out today. Her curiosity is boundless, she asked about everything. I answered again and again, feeling only joy. July 21, 1990. Why? Why does tragedy follow me? Why must those I love suffer? I've lived piously, helped many, shown greatest kindness. Yet God took my daughter. It's not enough, He also took Angelina. What did I do wrong? How can I save her? My Angelina, my poor little girl, please live. August 9, 1990. I searched globally for doctors, psychics, no cure for my Angelina. My poor child. I would take 10 times her pain myself. I only hope she survives. August 13, 1990. Angelina, I've aged overnight, my sight is blurry. Dream or reality, I don't know. In my dream, you and a handsome young man walked into a church. You wore a white wedding dress. He loved you as much as I, so I handed you over worry-free. When I woke, you lay with instruments and tubes in the next room. Your red hair had fallen out. You were sinking into the quilt, fragile and thin. The thought of losing you. My heart shattered. I lay beside you and cried. I wished to die with you. September 7, 1990. Angelina, you woke today, you seemed better, though I feared it was God's cruel joke. The doctor said you were dying, I didn't know what to do. But you sat up, took my hand and said, I'm going to sleep underground in the fall, but I'll be back when winter is over. September 13, 1990. My Angelina, my angel. You have left me forever. December 14, 1990. One day before Christmas, I awoke in the hospital. It's been 3 months since you left. The underground palace plan continues. My longing nearly broke me, but the pain remains. Occasionally in dreams, you smile at me sweetly, like before. December 25, 1990. Oh. I received a disturbing Christmas gift, a 6-year-old girl named Daisy. Do they think anyone can replace you? February 2, 1991. That girl has lived here 2 or 3 months, timid, naughty, a crybaby. Nothing like you. I named her Daisy, a common grass. Her presence cannot ease my sadness, she only reminds me of you, intensifying my grief. I lifted my head from the diary. Krilo Lucifer still sat quietly, reading. The layers of truth, and trauma, within this diary ran deeper than I ever imagined. February 28, 1991. I got angry with Daisy because she sneaked into your room. I punished her by not letting her eat dinner. She cried out of fear, and suddenly I felt a little sorry for her. After all, she was just a little girl like you. Although she could never replace you, she hadn't done anything wrong. March 17, 1991. I dreamed again of the day you left. Why bother being good? Gods, Buddhas, religions, they're all lies. I no longer care, no longer miss anything. There's no need to atone for my sins. No one has convicted me, therefore I am not guilty. March 20, 1991. Winter has passed, Angelina, and you still haven't come back. May 11, 1991. Daisy is dead. She was a naughty girl, and I failed her, not because I neglected her physically, but because I failed to care for her emotions. That day, I was in the garden tending to your favorite irises when she fell from the roof. I watched her die in front of me, her limbs twisted and twitching, a red bloom spreading on the ground. The maid screamed, but my heart felt like it twisted with her limbs at that moment. It was like a heavy pile of snow melting in a scorching sun, collapsing in an avalanche before the last flake could settle. Watching her struggle and fade, I felt an unexpected sense of relief, as if I were buried in rice and had finally clawed a gap to breathe. What's wrong with me? July 1, 1991. The underground palace is complete. It's the cage I built to shut out the world. I want to hide in it, away from a world without you, Angelina. September 13, 1991. My dear Angelina, today is the anniversary of your death. I didn't expect a year to pass so quickly. I don't know if you can see me from heaven. If you could, you'd surely blame me. Only when my hands and eyes are soaked in fresh, hot blood can I feel a pleasure greater than opium, an escape from this hell that feels both unreal and all too real. Let me flee from this torment. Angelina, will you blame me? Oh, you will. You're such a kind child. Then will you forgive me? April 26, 1992. Today a little red-haired girl was brought to me. She had 2 pigtails and dimples when she smiled. My whole body trembled. She blinked her big, watery eyes at me, and for a moment, I thought it was you, reborn to visit me. But I knew it couldn't be. I've gone mad, Angelina. I can't stop. I am truly a devil, betrayed by God, and betraying God in turn. That poor little girl. I killed her while she was nearly unconscious. God, I loathe myself. How do I stop? I would rather go to the deepest level of hell. Please, someone free me. End this cycle. I don't want to go on. I want to see you, Angelina, but I know, I'm not worthy. June 15, 1993. I quit for half a year. Yes, I abandoned that cruel habit. But just 6 months later, I picked up the scalpel again. The whispers in my dreams had become chants. I was torturing myself, going mad. December 10, 1994. 4.5 years have passed, dear Angelina. How is life in heaven? Are you growing into a true angel? My eyes are warped, everything I see turns black, like a silent film from an old camera. I feel my soul rotting in this hollow shell. One half of my heart is screaming, begging for death, so that those poor little girls might be saved. January 20, 1995. Nothing is sweet, my Angelina. Life lost its taste when you left. I'm so tired. A new batch of little girls will be sent in. But I never feel joy, only a desperate longing for release. January 24, 1995. Angelina, you haven't appeared in my dreams for a long time. The diary ended there. The last entry was dated yesterday. He wrote daily. Though each entry was short, every page was filled with the name Angelina. This love, obsessive, desperate, maddening, coursed through the pages. As I read in skips and jolts, my heart sank into a grim, moonlit night, as if cast into a bottomless abyss. There were always water stains on the diary, traces of Juarta's tears. I bit my lower lip uncontrollably. I bit so hard, the metallic tang of blood spread in my mouth. This heavy, sorrowful, and suffocating diary now lay quietly in my hands. A surge of heat rushed to my eyes, sadness, anger, grief, twisting together. This hateful, pitiful man. There are no words for the deep, conflicted despair I felt. Even my fingers, clutching the diary, turned cold and began to tremble. Such a young child also has the habit of reading other people's diaries. Krilo Lucifer suddenly spoke. I couldn't tell whether he was criticizing or mocking me. But I had no energy left to respond. Angelina. The month before her death, everyone in the world knew her name. The bounty that Juarta offered was so immense it would stun even a king. He was willing to spend everything he had to save her, but he still failed. During that time, a massive crowd responded. Whether they had medical skills or not, whether they had a method or just hope, everyone wanted to try, everyone dreamed that luck would fall on their heads. But it was a rare, incurable disease. Even when she died in agony, no one had found a way to save her. So you knew his story all along, didn't you? I asked weakly, suppressing my churning emotions in the face of Krilo's calm. It wasn't difficult for me to find out. He spoke slowly. I'm leaving now. I don't intend to harm you, so feel free to do as you like. But, remember me, because if nothing unexpected happens, we will definitely meet again. With that, he stood up, turned, and walked back the way he came without hesitation. I stood quickly, wanting to ask what he meant, but he had already picked up the severed hand from the corner and stepped through the door, vanishing into a white halo in an instant. I stared blankly in the direction he disappeared. I wanted to call out, but my throat was tight, I couldn't make a sound. Juarta is dead. The mission is complete. There's no need to involve Hisoka or Illumi anymore. I had no energy left to question further. All I wanted now was to leave this place forever. I wished I could bury these memories deep in this palace, let them rot, let them disappear, never to return. Chapter 82. As an audience member, it would be foolish to get too deeply involved in the drama. But I am not an audience member. Broadly speaking, every living person, dead person, unborn person, no matter who they are, is part of this theatrical play, an actor who cannot be ignored. No one in this world is merely a spectator. But in a narrow sense, everyone only has their own stage, and they only perform their own play. It was a mistake for you to peek at your neighbor's performance, let alone write it down, which only disrupted your own position. That doesn't make sense. The two stages are so close, how can we not see each other's performances? Ha ha ha, you're so endearing. You didn't really realize you're the only one caring so much about someone else's script, did you? Open your eyes and look around. On all these red stages with curtains and hangings, which play isn't performed for the performer? Who doesn't live for themselves? You always seem out of place, you're not cut out for acting. The voice in my dream whispered. I remember sitting alone on that chair for a long time. The glass jar filled with solution cracked, spilling sticky fluid that rapidly spread across the floor. The girls' bodies collapsed like ripe fruit no one had gathered. The urn-made wall crumbled, scattering ashes across the room. I held the photo frame, staring quietly at the two beaming figures trapped amid chaos. Someone struck a match. The underground palace was alight. The foundation trembled and cracked. I heard desperate screams from all directions as people fled. I reminded myself, Juarta is dead, gone without a trace. He died a death that suited him. This man who took so many innocent lives for selfish reasons. He lived 5 years of agony and madness. Given the irreversible contradiction, however, Juarta was both unmistakably villainous and deeply pitiable. Fate sculpted him, no solution exists other than to sigh at life's cruel ironies. I recall using my ability to guide those girls out of that horrific underground world. The dice rolled a 6. I remained in a coma for 3 days, haunted by dreams of puppets on stage. I could not discern whether the puppet was dead or alive, whether someone controlled it, or if it acted by its own will. I dreamed of a mirror. I cannot say whether it was dream or reality. In it, she spoke to me, each word dripping with sarcasm. You watch others' plays, and others watch yours. After so long with those two old men teaching you, haven't you caught on yet? Others only care about themselves, and at most, they affect those close to them. Only you would descend so low for something insignificant. Do you want to be a hero and move yourself? I don't mean to bully you. I meant every harsh thing I said, but I know you didn't intend it. I was just teasing. So, when will you wake up? Then I dreamed of my childhood. I dreamed of my parents smiling, bubbles rising high into the sky, and a warm sun that disappeared. A figure in a white coat stood before me. Surrounding yards were walled high, windows sealed, a cage disguised as protection. Even at the highest point, only a sliver of sky was visible through and beyond the walls. I realize now, human existence is a contradiction. The intersection of positive and negative, the tug between self and other, that is the ancient structure of the character. In old Chinese philosophy, I already bore the contradiction of existence. No one can define who they truly are. We are not single phrases or simple truths. People falter. They speak and act against themselves. This fits with the idea that while individuals are unpredictable, groups show patterns. A girl emerged from behind a tree. She patted my shoulder. When I turned, she vanished into light and shadow, then returned to pat me again, laughing. Her laughter was high and clear, like tapping a spoon on glass. "Do you remember what I told you?" she asked softly, cradling my face. "You said I'm not fit for acting," I replied, gazing at her vague, shifting features. The hand holding mine felt familiar and alien, the coolness of her fingers weaving through mine. "Mirror," I whispered. "I read your memory, saw into your heart. I know where you come from. I know your turmoil, I understand you, I know everything." Her voice remained that familiar, slow, steady tone. Falling into the witch's dark tree hole. Falling into a web of countless mirrors reflecting each other. Then continuing to fall. Until we fall into the burning boat, where only fire can carry us. Through the Mobius strip of reality into the grown-up's fairy tale world. I woke abruptly. The moment I bolted upright, the maid beside me screamed. Then she realized herself and covered her mouth. "Ms. Amber, you're awake. I'll go fetch Master Illumi." She fled the room like a startled bird. I stayed frozen for a moment, mind blank. After blinking a few times, I found my consciousness returning, like a soul re-entering its body. I looked around. These were familiar surroundings. Was I at Illumi's house? Before I could think further, Illumi entered carrying a plate of delicate snacks. He gently closed and locked the tall wooden door behind him, keeping Hisoka outside. "I need to speak with Amber alone. You go out and help soothe my brother. It's time for Kalito to have his afternoon fruit," Illumi instructed. A pause. Then I heard Hisoka's retreating footsteps, accustomed to taking orders from Illumi. "How do you feel?" Illumi approached the bed and offered me the snacks. "I slept well," I replied. "What day is it today?" "The 28th. I'm glad it was only 3 days of coma." 3 days? By the way, how did the mission go? "Very smoothly." Illumi's eyes gleamed. "My part was just to eliminate Juarta, and you've completed that without my help." "But I didn't kill him." "I know it wasn't you." He patted my head gently. "It was Curlo Lucifer, right? I heard about him, you two met. He's dangerous. Keep your distance. But don't worry, for now. I have more to tell you." He paused, eyes drifting to my neck even as his breathing stayed calm. "As for your ability being revealed to the Zolik family, I've dealt with that." "What?" I froze. "I told you, I handled it." He looked at me intently, stroking my hair as if comforting a pet. "I made a wish via Aluka. Mom, Dad, the brothers, everyone in this mansion, including those who forgot you, they remember again. But now, aside from me and Killua, only Hisoka knows you." "Whoa, that's a lot to unpack. You actually went to Aluka? You made a wish? For me?" "Yes." He nodded calmly. "I'll explain everything from the past 3 days. First, you rescued the 5 girls. I had them taken to the police station, they're safe and going home. I know that's what you meant by bringing them out. It was unnecessary, but if I'd hidden or discarded them without asking, I know you'd be upset. The Juarta job is fully done. The underground palace burned and collapsed. I transferred half the fee to your account, mostly thanks to you. I look forward to working together again," Illumi continued. I paused, thinking, Juarta is gone. His underground palace is rubble. He died burdened, but at peace. His twisted love and terrible secret lie buried beneath this forgotten suburb, lost in his dream of Angelina, who never died and never woke up. "It's not my fault," I whispered. "Curlo Lucifer and I are old acquaintances, though not as close as Hisoka. This was business. He succeeded this time because of you. I may not know all the details, but I'm certain you were part of his abilities' constraints," Illumi explained. "I?" "Yes." Illumi nodded and said, "He told me these things himself." "Okay. But who is that guy called Curlo?" "You don't need to know this." He withdrew the hand that had been stroking my hair and said gently, "Don't get involved in unnecessary trouble out of curiosity. I think you understand." I understand. Though I still had many questions, I stopped pressing after hearing that. Besides that, there's the issue with Aluka. The most important thing is that I need you to keep it a secret. I want you to keep this from everyone, including Hisaka. I won't hurt you even if you accidentally tell someone, but to ensure this secret doesn't leak, I'll kill everyone else who hears it. Except you. I understand. Even though I knew Illumi was threatening me, I felt neither fear nor anger. I knew this was a secret I couldn't speak of, just like I couldn't reveal my own ability. I understood the stakes. As for the restriction involved in Aluka's ability, I figured you wouldn't want me to randomly choose some passerby to take the burden. So I found a death row inmate to bear the consequences. So far, 3 people have been affected, all of them fellow death row inmates. 4 lives destined to end anyway. This was the most reasonable solution I could find. But what I don't get is, why didn't I do it myself? Why put Aluka at such risk? Because if Aluka does it, the risk to you is lower. I understand. Illumi, thank you for doing all this for me and being so thoughtful, I said sincerely and with some sadness. Please thank Aluka too. It's nothing. Sensing my emotions, his gaze briefly sharpened. An air of pressure came over me, and I instinctively avoided his eyes. Illumi continued, I had to sneak into the basement where Aluka is kept. No one had fulfilled my last wish yet, so the prisoner underwent 2 restrictions. Luckily, the first only took non-lethal organs. But before the second restriction could be discovered by my parents, I had to make another identical wish, one that had already come true. Illumi blinked slowly. Which means, I now have a computer of the same model as Maluki. It's useless to me, how about I give it to you? The abrupt topic change left me stunned. He picked up a laptop from the foot of the bed and placed it in my hands. So far, anything you don't understand? He asked. I nodded, then shook my head. That's basically everything. Oh, one last thing, while you were unconscious, that boy called you. Everett answered. I wasn't there. You can call him back. Illumi pointed at the bedside table, where my phone lay quietly. I'll go get Hisaka. He stood up and left to give me space. After he left, I opened my phone case and scrolled through a long string of messages. One was from Kurapika. Since it was inconvenient to use landlines at home, I'd gotten him a phone like mine a few days earlier. He texted not to worry and reminded me to call once the mission ended. There was also a surprising number of messages from Killua. He told me about the arena, he reached the 200th floor. Then he was sent on a mission by his father. He also complained that I hadn't replied, hadn't come to watch his matches, and wondered if Illumi had killed him. I munched a piece of cake while reading. There was also a message from Kido. He'd sent a cute emoji and wrote, the encounter was successful. Encounter? When did I meet him? Confused, I sent back a question mark. Kido replied instantly with another cute emoji and the message, keep it secret. Emojis really were all the rage lately. Just as I was about to call Kurapika, the room door burst open with a bang, and a blur of white hair rushed in. A boy stormed in like he'd just caught a criminal red-handed. You had your phone but didn't reply to my messages? I heard from my brother you were here, so I dropped everything and rushed over. The sun's already on your butt, why are you still lying in bed? Who'd marry a lazy woman like you? No wonder my brother didn't want you as his child bride. Today. There was no mistaking the speaker. That angry, infuriating tone could only belong to Killua. Shut up, you rude little brat. I threw a pillow at him. He dodged nimbly, picked it up, and smirked. Just woke up and already this week. Come on, play games with me. I bought a new console 2 days ago. Your skills suck, but since we've known each other so long, maybe I'll teach you. Okay? His voice stopped the instant he grabbed my wrist, trying to pull me from the bed. But he froze. I saw his pupils shrink slightly, shocked. He rolled up my sleeve, touched my arm, then my forehead. Are you dead? A cold-blooded animal? Why don't you have any temperature? Hey! You're the dead one. You're the cold-blooded animal. You. Wait. No temperature? I froze. I touched my arm, nothing. But I recalled how hot I'd felt when he touched me. A small surprise stirred in my heart. Maybe I hadn't fully stabilized after waking? Killua, came a faint voice from the door. The white-haired boy startled. Illumi had returned, leaning against the frame. Don't be rude. Tsk. Got it, big brother. Killua muttered, withdrawing his hand. Your body isn't fully recovered. You've been in a coma 3 days, said Illumi. Killua, go out. Did you finish today's training? This isn't playtime. Killua said nothing. He seemed wary of Illumi, lowering his head like a scolded child as he walked out dejectedly. Hisoka has to go to Salopez this afternoon. He can escort you home. The airship leaves in 2 hours. Can you walk? If not, I'll ask him to carry you. Ask Hisoka to carry me. The words were like a curse. I jolted upright and immediately shook my head like a rattle. No. I'm fine. I can walk. I could win gold in the Olympic hurdles. I'm faster than Lu Xiong. Illumi was silent for a moment, then patted my head. Then pack quickly. The airship won't wait. Chapter 83 2 hours later, Hisoka and I sat in window seats on the same airship. In front of him was a glass of light red sparkling wine with ice cubes, and in front of me was a half-drunk glass of orange juice. I had rushed to pack my things from Illumi's house and made my way to the airport. When I left, I only had time to say goodbye to Killua, whose face looked lost and disappointed. I didn't see anyone else as I left Kukuru Mountain and got into a car. Even Hisoka, who had been with Illumi, disappeared for a while. That left me with a new mystery. So many things lately had been unsettling. I wanted to know who the man named Kurlo was. My instincts told me he must hold some crucial secrets. And Killua's unfortunate twin brother had become another concern that lingered in my mind. A lot has happened recently, I muttered, resting my chin on my hand. The setting sun poured golden-orange light through the window, casting our shadows across the seats. Water from the frosty glass clung to the surface, then slid down like a mermaid's tear, forming a transparent ring on the table. Little Apple has been worried lately, said Hisoka, smiling faintly, his eyes narrowing. Incense smoke from somewhere drifted around us, making the air blurry. I began to cough. Everyone has something on their mind, I answered casually. Oh, so you're still a sentimental little girl. So many emotions in that heart, said Hisoka. Are you praising me or mocking me? I'm neither praising nor mocking. Just sharing my feelings. Hisoka took a sip of wine, gently swirling the glass. The ice cubes clinked with a crisp ding. For me, as long as something's interesting, that's enough. Worrying too much just brings unnecessary trouble. Maybe I'm just the type who invites trouble. Then you've got great potential as a movie heroine. I choked on his reply, left speechless. I finished the orange juice in one go out of frustration. Illumi and I have taught you everything we could, but I know you won't heed all our warnings. Your own ideas and thoughts dominate you. That's the difference between me and Illumi. I don't crave control like he does, and I think I've learned a lot from you. Hisoka gazed toward the golden white clouds. His eyes weren't their usual eerie and dangerous selves, now they looked like knife tips lost in soft clouds. I couldn't tell if the gentleness I saw came from him or from the reflected light. Learn something from me? I asked curiously. Yeah, I learned how to better lick a green apple. I really shouldn't expect anything profound from you. So, just live your life your way, said Hisoka, completely ignoring my complaint. After all, besides being a toy, you're also my friend. His golden eyes glanced sideways at me. The sunlight painted his face like finely brushed gold. The light in his eyes looked like it glowed from within. "Oh, I'm not great with emotional talk. Want another glass of juice? How about a drink? Minors can't drink alcohol." Because the distance was short, we arrived quickly. Hisaka drove me home, but declined my invitation to meet Kurapika, saying he had other business. Fine by me, saves me a pot of tea. As I waved goodbye to Hisaka, Kurapika opened the door and stepped out. Hearing the door open behind me, I turned around. The boy was stunned for a moment when he saw me. I waved from the other side of the gate. "Hey! Just in time, let me introduce you. This is X, where'd he go?" I said, reaching back for Hisaka, but came up empty. He had vanished in the blink of an eye. What was with that guy? How did he disappear so fast? "What?" Kurapika opened the door, smiling. "When did you get back? Why didn't you call? How was the mission? It's cold out, let's go inside first." I shrugged helplessly and followed Kurapika indoors. After over 10 days away, the first thing I did was take a hot bath. As usual, Kurapika cooked dinner. Though it wasn't evening yet, he correctly guessed I was hungry. Steam filled the bathroom. I stared blankly at the ceiling and said to the mirror, "Are we going to stay like this forever?" "What do you mean?" I sat up in the tub, hands on the edge, poking at bubbles. "We've lived like this. Sharing a body. Isn't it inconvenient? Isn't there a way to separate us?" "I don't think so," she said. "Without you, I'd disappear. You've always existed in this world. You must know more than I do, right? You can read my memories, but I know nothing about you. I dreamed of a high wall, doctors in white coats, a manor stuck in a fake utopia. Was that your past?" "Yes," said Vera quietly. I could faintly see my reflection on the white marble wall, but not my expression. "That was my past. A perfect life like flawless jade. 8 years in that manner. But what's the point? Now I'm just your appendage. Is there nothing I can do for you? Given how things are, there's nothing to be done." The conversation ended abruptly. I stepped out of the shower in thick plush pajamas, long enough to nearly cover me completely. Kurapika was curled on the sofa with a book. After dinner, I took out the laptop Illumi had given me. "This is the prize for the mission," I explained vaguely. My hand hesitated as I opened it. "I don't know if I can really find the murderer. I'm worried about you." The boy's cold hand suddenly held mine. His face looked sad but determined, not like the steadfast warrior of before, but more fragile, yet resolved. "Can you trust me?" he asked softly but firmly. "I've always trusted you," I sighed with relief and patted his head before turning on the computer. Illumi had pre-installed the basic software. That solved a big problem for someone technically challenged like me. I inserted my Hunter license into the thin card slot and logged onto the Hunter website. An animated curtain lifted, revealing a tavern scene. I paid a consulting fee of 100 million Jenny to the bartender NPC. At last, I obtained more detailed clues about the Corta massacre. A heavy, suffocating atmosphere came from beside me. The hand holding mine was as cold as winter glass. From the corner of my eye, I saw Kurapika's eyes turn crimson. His face was blank, devastated, overwhelmed by sadness. It engulfed me like a cold autumn tide. I felt like I was standing on a cliff, the waves crashing beneath me. One more step, and I'd be shattered. Among the familiar info and survivor reports, one new term clarified everything instantly: phantom troop. Kurapika suddenly pulled his hand away, clutching his chest and bending forward. He shook uncontrollably, mute, looking like he might suffocate. No words escaped, only large tears dripping through his golden hair. I gently stroked his back, as if calming a fragile animal, comforting this soul in pain, smoothing over his fractures as best I could. But I could never pull him from his grief. No joke or kind word could heal a wound like this. No future hope could undo the pain, only cover it temporarily. Suddenly, Kurapika stood and threw himself into my arms. His head rested on my shoulder. Soon, my shirt was soaked with warm tears. He panted heavily, reclaiming the breath he'd lost. In that moment, he clung to me like family, vulnerable, unguarded. My heart broke, but also softened. My eyes burned. I said nothing, only repeated my gentle touch over and over. Eventually, he calmed down, wiped his tears, and turned back to the screen. Follow-up report on the Kurta massacre. The criminals are the internationally wanted thief group Phantom Troop, classified as A rank. Originated in Meteor City. Number of members unknown. Leader, Krilo Lucifer. No further info confirmed. For reference only. Reading that, it was as if thunder exploded in my head. I reread the name 3 times in disbelief. My mind swirled from the realization, and I stumbled back in shock. How could it be, I murmured. How could it be such a coincidence? The man I met in the underground palace was none other than the leader of the Phantom Troop, the mastermind behind the Kurta massacre, the true murderer Kurapika sought, the sworn enemy he lived to destroy. Krilo Lucifer, Chapter 84 - What's wrong? Even in his grief, Kurapika was the first to notice my strange behavior, asking weakly. I took a deep breath, shook my head and said, "Give me some time to calm down. I'll explain it later." His eyes hesitated as he looked at me. I forced a smile and mimicked his tone, "Can you believe me?" This time he nodded without hesitation. I didn't leave the living room. I moved to the corner of the sofa and handed the computer to Kurapika. The silence was frightening, as if everything were suspended, the clocks ticking the only steady echo. It was a cold winter's night. Frost had woven delicate patterns on the window, like lace smiling at the interior. The north wind sobbed softly outside, but the fireplace glowed warmly, lending life to the room. Every part of me, mind, reason, flesh, urged me to speak. To tell Kurapika everything I knew about the Phantom Troop, about the man named Krilo, so his hatred would gain direction. To help him channel his grief into purpose. But my heart rebelled. This internal struggle, the I that wanted to speak and the I that wanted to hide, raged silently within me. If I spoke, Kurapika's revenge would darken. His hate would cling to Krilo like morning dew on a flower, beautiful, ruthless, destructive. I didn't want that. Still, I felt compelled. I owe him clarity. Krilo's name echoed in my mind like a relentless downpour. Every feature I remembered twisted into something monstrous, his yellow-white robes, those eyebrows crosswise like a third eye, sharp eyelashes like ice spikes, his pale lips hiding fangs. I remembered how I felt in his presence, drowning in cold water. Then a hand pressed my shoulder. The crushing weight lifted, I broke into cold sweat. "You don't look well," Kurapika said, concern heavy in his voice. "If you can't say it yet, that's okay. We agreed, you won't force yourself." His brown eyes, still veined with red, were luminous as twilight sky. He faced me, caring only for me, not the secret burden I carried. I began to cry. I could not continue to hide from those clear, solitary eyes. I choked out, "No matter what, you won't abandon me?" Kurapika replied softly, "I should be the one asking that." I steadied my voice. "So you promise to protect yourself? Your mind and body, no matter what comes?" He met my gaze and said firmly, "I promise I'll try." "I believe you." "Of course I believe you," I sobbed. "I met Krilo during the mission. He's the leader of the Phantom Troop, Kurapika. I saw him kill my target and complete it. I didn't know who he was then, but he's so dangerous, strong enough to grip me with one hand. He snuck into that underground palace that hasn't been breached in 2 years. Kurapika, do you understand? No, no. Don't be impulsive, he said calmly. I exhaled sharply. He gave me a sad but grateful smile. Thank you for telling me. It's shocking, but I want to know more about him. About Kurlo. Can you tell me? I looked down and whispered, with your strength now, finding him may only lead to death. But, if you insist, I'll go with you. I won't let you seek revenge alone, no matter how you do it. He laughed softly. I panicked at first, but his smile wasn't false, it comforted me. Am I so impulsive? He pinched my head like a reverse roll. I felt awkward, but warmth spread in my heart. I can't pretend I'm calm. I want to kill him too, but I won't abandon reason. We agreed, no rushed revenge. Grow strong. Weigh revenge and reality. Don't lose yourself, or me. I noticed he blinked. I thought, I will teach him mental discipline when the time comes. Though the future looked rough, I couldn't imagine how far we'd later go. I said, let me train you. Get so strong I can't catch up. To do that, you must ride the currents of this world, learn restraint, oath. A supreme rule, the more rights you hold, the more you lose. You've lived longer than I have, but to protect you I'll teach you everything I know, even if it's about revenge. Then I smiled, remember our promise before the hunter exam? He paused. What? I said if I returned safely, we'd travel together. Do you remember? Oh. Yes. I tilted my head and smiled. Then. Let's go tomorrow. Ask ChatGPT. Chapter 85. What's wrong? Even in his grief, Kurapika was the first to notice my strange behavior, asking weakly. I took a deep breath, shook my head and said, give me some time to calm down. I'll explain it later. His eyes hesitated as he looked at me. I forced a smile and mimicked his tone, can you believe me? This time he nodded without hesitation. I didn't leave the living room, I moved to the corner of the sofa and handed the computer to Kurapika. The silence was frightening, as if everything were suspended, the clocks ticking the only steady echo. It was a cold winter's night. Frost had woven delicate patterns on the window, like lace smiling at the interior. The north wind sobbed softly outside, but the fireplace glowed warmly, lending life to the room. Every part of me, mind, reason, flesh, urged me to speak. To tell Kurapika everything I knew about the phantom troop, about the man named Kurlo, so his hatred would gain direction. To help him channel his grief into purpose. But my heart rebelled. This internal struggle, the I that wanted to speak and the I that wanted to hide, raged silently within me. If I spoke, Kurapika's revenge would darken. His hate would cling to Kurlo like morning dew on a flower, beautiful, ruthless, destructive. I didn't want that. Still, I felt compelled. I owe him clarity. Kurlo's name echoed in my mind like a relentless downpour. Every feature I remembered twisted into something monstrous, his yellow-white robes, those eyebrows crosswise like a third eye, sharp eyelashes like ice spikes, his pale lips hiding fangs. I remembered how I felt in his presence, drowning in cold water. Then a hand pressed my shoulder. The crushing weight lifted, I broke into cold sweat. You don't look well, Kurapika said, concern heavy in his voice. If you can't say it yet, that's okay. We agreed, you won't force yourself. His brown eyes, still veined with red, were luminous as twilight sky. He faced me, caring only for me, not the secret burden I carried. I began to cry. I could not continue to hide from those clear, solitary eyes. I choked out, no matter what, you won't abandon me? Kurapika replied softly, I should be the one asking that. I steadied my voice. So you promise to protect yourself? Your mind and body, no matter what comes. He met my gaze and said firmly, I promise I'll try. I believe you. Of course I believe you, I sobbed. I met Kurlo during the mission. He's the leader of the Phantom Troop, Kurapika. I saw him kill my target and complete it. I didn't know who he was then, but he's so dangerous, strong enough to grip me with one hand. He snuck into that underground palace that hasn't been breached in 2 years. Kurapika, do you understand? No, no. Don't be impulsive, he said calmly. I exhaled sharply. He gave me a sad but grateful smile. Thank you for telling me. It's shocking, but I want to know more about him. About Kurlo. Can you tell me? I looked down and whispered, with your strength now, finding him may only lead to death. But, if you insist, I'll go with you. I won't let you seek revenge alone, no matter how you do it. He laughed softly. I panicked at first, but his smile wasn't false, it comforted me. Am I so impulsive? He pinched my head like a reverse roll. I felt awkward, but warmth spread in my heart. I can't pretend I'm calm. I want to kill him too, but I won't abandon reason. We agreed, no rushed revenge. Grow strong. Weigh revenge and reality. Don't lose yourself, or me. I noticed he blinked. I thought, I will teach him mental discipline when the time comes. Though the future looked rough, I couldn't imagine how far we'd later go. I said, let me train you. Get so strong I can't catch up. To do that, you must ride the currents of this world, learn restraint, oath. A supreme rule, the more rights you hold, the more you lose. You've lived longer than I have, but to protect you I'll teach you everything I know, even if it's about revenge. Then I smiled, remember our promise before the hunter exam? He paused. What? I said if I returned safely, we'd travel together. Do you remember? Oh. Yes. I tilted my head and smiled. Then. Let's go tomorrow. Chapter 86. I believe fate is wonderful. It has no form, no fixed shape, just a concept, an image of something real. For example, meeting Kurapika was fate. When I first arrived in this world and reached the town where I met Hisaka, that was our first encounter. Though we sought different things, me semi-forced by Hisaka, and him exiled from Salopez after a major upheaval, we nonetheless reunited later in another city far away. There was something ineffable guiding us. It's the same for everyone I've met in this world, Hisaka, who likes to dig apples, Illumi, with his sibling obsession, Jing Freaks, who knows Biscuit who introduced Lyra to me, and Kurlo Lucifer, whose ties to Kurapika are tangled infinitely. We're bound by invisible threads spun by the wheel of fortune, walls no one can scale. Our feelings overlap in complex ways, positive, negative, blunt, hidden, neutral. One immediate perk of a hunter license is free travel and luxury compartments. Once settled, Kurapika and I exhaled in relief and soothed our tension. We ordered 2 refills of orange juice, and I realized even squeezed fruit holds the sweetness of hope. We boarded a southbound train. The green carriage clattered down the track like an iron beast, steady and calm. Outside, rice fields stretched wide. When I cracked the window, a bracing breeze rushed in, carrying the scent of farmland. First we passed snowy northern fields. Distant peaks were topped with thick snow, like sugar icing. Wisps of mist blurred them, creating a dreamlike scene. Then came melting snow over decaying forests. Brown-gray trees, bare-branched, stretched skyward, a silent winter song across the ground. Their exposed trunks, though bent by winds, stood straight. Their interwoven branches formed delicate silhouettes, like black and white film images immortalized in memory. I pictured a wild girl riding a great white wolf, wearing wolf fur, revealing unadorned mountain golden skin. The wolf, pure and loyal, shared her spirit, their eyes were polished jet beads. A bone blade dangled at her waist, matching the wolf's strength. They felt each other, wild and pure, untouched by civilization. They slipped into the trees and reappeared, boots stirring leaves, wolf claws rustling. Her face bore blood paint marks, wild princess in the forest, an imaginary meeting beyond my reach. Traveling farther south, snowy peaks gave way to plains and spent wetlands. Brown-green weeds sprawled, and murky water reflected pale sky. Remote, abandoned houses punctuated the landscape. Kurapika gazed silently, eyes as still as water. I wondered if he saw the same wonder. "Kurapika, what do you see?" I asked on our 5th day. "I see seasons changing. Mountains and forests shifting. The world in endless postures," he replied thoughtfully. "So, and how does it make you feel?" "Even decay is a gift from nature. It cycles, birth and death. I think I'm starting to understand that meaning. In the past, I wanted to show Pyro these sights. Now it's a lifelong regret. But I'm glad you're here with me." I stayed quiet, pressing my lips, uncertain. The train felt endless, like a journey through rebirth. On day 7, we reached a remote town. We celebrated like children, 2 outsiders in a new world. We had chosen slow travel not for arrival, but for the journey itself. We shed heavy coats, leaving light blues. Kurapika wore a skirt too, tradition of his nation. He wore white leggings beneath. It looked natural and fitting on him. We settled in this exotic town for 6 weeks. Thanks to the reward from the Juarta mission, we rented a small apartment. An orange tree grew in the courtyard, heavy with green fruit. Cats and short-legged dogs slept in the sun. The town was warm, neighbors greeted us like family, delighting to see 2 lone travelers. We fit in with no fuss. Each weekend, the town square hosted all-night bonfires. Dancers in colorful attire chanted in unknown tongues, and hymns rang like church bells. Their fervor was unceasing, their kindness gentle, even the blind elder at the gate greeted us with soft whispers. We, Kurapika and I, quickly absorbed the energy. Every day held discovery as we explored, peculiar architecture, unknown creatures. They worshipped a little girl on the altar, soft-voiced and veiled, lying on hands and knees. Incense smoked around her shrine, dry, sweet, pervasive. I began official training with Kurapika. No wrappers or restraints, we kept it body safe. Training was basic, agility, strength, and direct combat. The town's rivers and hills provided ideal terrain. Thanks to Kurapika's natural fitness, progress was rapid. No fancy nen. Instead, classic endurance methods, weighted long-distance runs, hopping river stones for balance. I shared the techniques I'd learned from Hisaka and Illumi. He absorbed everything fast. Within 6 weeks, he could anticipate and counter my surprise moves. After all that time, we left the town. The villagers lined the path to see us off, offering homemade gifts. We thanked each of them, and eventually made our departure. We set off again, heading to the next town, back into the thrum of mixed life. Everything felt washed in our own vivid color, unfiltered, unforgettable. For this moment, the journey was our destination. Chapter 87. I have never really liked winter. In the winters of my previous world, pale skylight dimmed the sun, and the sky was etched with bare branches. The hazy red corners of sunrise disappeared beyond the horizon, distant and mysterious. Winter always felt monotonous, white, still, eternally melancholy, like a heart numbed by frost. I don't hate winter. If anything, I fear it, its length, its emptiness. It's like a barren paradise of white sand, unreachable. It consumes everything back into void. Clouds drift not as clouds, but as choking smoke. I remember every winter since my birth, vague impressions overlapping like end credits rolling endlessly in a dull film. They seem to form an eternal sleep or some final ending. This is why I lived my life indulgently. Now, we're far from the cold Lopez winter. I feel this world is different from the last. My mind has begun to adapt as if reborn, unchanged at core, but shaped by chaos. This world is wild, passionate, dangerous. Like being at the center of a storm. I've become someone I never imagined. I now realize I may have, strangely, fallen in love with winter. Winter here is silver and swaying, like that blonde boy, giving me a pure winter smile. We sat on a bus. Dusk lingered in the city. My reflection filled the window as I gazed out. My ruby earrings swung, like red tears on a silent girl. The vast orange sky engulfed the buildings. Dusk is known as the devil's hour. We climbed the emergency stairwell on an abandoned building for a better view. The wind surged upward, lifting my skirt like a careless ghost. Rust crept over the handrails and steps. We'd just come from a musical, tickets bought at triple price from scalpers. I don't understand music fully, but the tender notes made me feel the soul's quiet sobs, so I cried, while Kurapika looked on, surprised. Why do people talk to others when they can handle feelings on their own? I asked. The kindest answer I ever heard, because I am loved. Rust painted the stairs like moss. The building's porcelain facade chipped away, revealing gray cement and iron bars. The decay held a melancholic beauty, like Delaroche's painting. I like standing on high, looking at the vast world. It humbles me. I exist fully aware, I cannot deceive my heart. Up here, I am both body and consciousness, detached from everything. Kurapika stood next to me, eyes half closed. I wondered what he was thinking. He walked ahead on the crumbling steps. Suddenly, a distant memory, like a dream, flashed in my head. I reached out and gently shoved him. He dodged easily. I chased him in playful pursuit across the precarious stairwell. He was agile, but slower than me. I held back, not wanting to hurt him or force him to grow up too fast. We raced to the rooftop. He darted ahead but slipped on the unstable railing, falling backward. I grabbed his arm, pulling him up with ease. I laughed, making light of his misstep, but when I glanced, his eyes were red. Startled, I asked if he was hurt. He shook his head. His red eyes, his firm lips, it wasn't pain, but longing and guilt writ small. I touched his hair. The sun's dying light roared around the buildings, wind whipping over us. Is this real? I whispered. He pulled my hair, tapped my face. Do you think it's a dream? I shook my head. Often I wish it was a dream. That when I wake, I can undo the Corta massacre. But I know it's not. The question of reality's illusion is too deep, I sighed. We only need to live now. I can't fully agree, but, Kurapika said. Thanks to you, things are less bleak. I pursed my lips and remained silent. After dinner, we strolled through neon-lit alleys. I held warm egg waffles topped with melting ice cream, savoring momentary peace. Then came a muffled disturbance. In the hum of traffic and the quiet of night, the sound stood out like bait. Ilumi's pale face flashed, "Mind your own business." But Kurapika bolted ahead before I could think. I chased him to the alley's edge to witness a classic rescue. He defended a small girl from hooligans. In shadows, I saw her crouched, face hidden beneath a huge hat. I admired Kurapika's skill, and stayed back. This felt like a fairy tale. He couldn't ignore the vulnerable. The attackers fled, threatening revenge. I took an empty bottle and smashed it for effect. The trick worked. "Are you okay?" Kurapika asked, offering his hand gently. But she slapped it away with a sharp snap, brushing off dust and standing. She removed her hat and coat hood, eyes cold and fierce as she glared at Kurapika, then me. "Who asked you to meddle in my business?" she said, hostility clear in her tone. Ilumi's warning echoed, "Mind your own." I sighed inwardly. He was right. I had asked for trouble. Short break, guy. Think about your life choices for a few seconds. Cause you obviously didn't think hard enough the first time if you're still here. Now let's keep going. Chapter 88. Who told you to meddle in other people's business? Said the little girl, about Kurapika's age, coldly. She frowned, clearly ungrateful for our help. The oversized coat draped over her body like a cloak, concealing her form, except for 2 slender legs clad in shorts and thick-soled sneakers. As she lifted her hat, I noticed her high ponytail slanting down, nearly reaching her knees. She shook her head habitually, letting the rest of her hair fall free. Her slightly curled locks seemed tinged with plasma, so vivid they seemed otherworldly. "Your hair is beautiful," I complimented sincerely. "Ts gay." She scoffed, dismissing me. Then she turned toward Kurapika, her words muffled by the coat. I watched as the tension in her face showed through her voice. "Even if you don't save me, I can handle those guys myself. Stay out of it, don't meddle." "You're safe now, so there's no reason for us to stay," Kurapika said gently. "But you weren't able to beat them," I teased, finishing my egg waffle. "How could a girl who curled up on the ground fight back?" She narrowed her lips and stared at me. I shrugged innocently. "Go away," she snapped. But then I heard metal scrape the ground. Beneath her coat, she clutched a faded baseball bat, barely visible. So that was her weapon. "I told you, stay away or I'll be rude," she said low and fierce, resting the bat on her shoulder, a warning. A wild animal shows teeth only when unsure. I saw something vulnerable in her fierceness. I looked at Kurapika to see his reaction. He grabbed my sleeve, ready to leave. He's compassionate, but not reckless. He helps those in need, but won't drag himself into strife unnecessarily. That restraint is why I admire him, balanced and whole. "Wait." I stopped him. He paused, surprised. I slipped his hand off my sleeve and stepped toward the girl. She braced herself, tighter on the bat, her red eyes, matching her hair, trembling. Sweat glistened on her brow, pupils small, yet still defiant. "Don't come any closer or I'll kill you." I pulled at her coat's collar, and beneath it, smelled blood. A drop clung to her lip, dampening her coat. Kurapika froze in disbelief. "You're badly hurt," yet pretending otherwise. I said softly. "You've probably cracked ribs. If you move too much, it could puncture something. You're strong enough to scare us with a bat, but can you walk to the hospital?" "This is none of your business," she shouted, panic replacing pride. "I told you to stay away." She lunged past me, then stumbled and collapsed, unconscious. I caught her before she hit hard. Kurapika cradled her as we sprinted to the hospital. Under stark surgical lights that revealed every bruise, her pale face came into focus. The red hair looked more like deep rouge in the light. Her half-open eyes still showed crimson pupils. Bruises peeked out from beneath her high socks, pools of purple. Why did I save her? Illumi warned me against meddling. Even in my dreams he is the disembodied voice of restraint. Yet I had helped Kurapika, and found I felt satisfied by it. We both believed aiding someone in need wasn't bad. We waited outside the ER. Facing the doctor's questions, I showed my hunter license. The staff were momentarily stunned, then immediately compliant. To them, we were just 3 kids, but licensed hunters at that. The girl had cracked ribs, not broken. When she was wheeled out, her face was pale, but the worst was over. "What a stubborn brat," I muttered. "How did you know she was hurt?" Kurapika asked, watching her vanish through the doors. "She hid it well." "You'll understand when you're older," I said, sipping watermelon juice, feeling slightly guilty. "Don't treat me like a child," he replied. The drip's rhythm and the clock's ticks matched in the quiet ward. I yawned and sat up while Kurapika read by the bookcase. We waited through the long, dull night. The TV chattered quietly in the background. I drifted. When I opened my eyes, dawn had arrived. "Good morning," Kurapika said softly. He sipped coffee and read the paper. If she weren't asleep, I'd forget we're even in a hospital. "Morning," I murmured, gathering the blanket. "You didn't sleep?" "A little," he replied. "How is she?" She's stable, but still unconscious, he said. Doctor? She's weak, be another few weeks yet. How sad, I said, half in empathy, half as filler. You don't sound convinced, Kurapika observed. You're right, everyone's pitiable. Everyone's lucky, I smiled. Anything happening today? Lots. In V5, 2 countries are holding presidential elections. The Hunter Association plans reform. A striking blue-feathered bird discovered in Antarctica. Mobile networks expanding. As he spoke, I grabbed coffee from the machine. After breakfast, we cleared dishes. The girl remained unconscious, waking only briefly to mumble. A doctor visited, everything stable. She should recover in roughly 3 months. Before she drifted back to sleep, she spoke, "My name is Sable." She mumbled more, but the words were lost. Then she slipped back into sleep. Chapter 89. After spending a few days together, her vigilance toward Kurapika and me seemed to have decreased a lot, but what remained unchanged was her keep away from me attitude, and she still hated us getting close to her. The girl said that she came from a far, far country, so far that she could not remember the way home. In that place, there were colorful clouds floating on the ground, endless green grasslands, and many white feathers falling from the clear sky like rain. There was constant wind all year round, and the swirling whirlwind would bring the feathers back to the sky. That place was so remote it seemed like the border of the world. There are no sheep in her hometown, so she doesn't know what Sable is. Her father gave her the name. Her father is a taciturn man who never says anything and often stares at the sky in a daze. He knows a lot of things that others don't know. He is knowledgeable and mysterious. Apart from being in a daze, he spends the rest of his time reading or making handicrafts, stone carvings, and other things to sell for money, which barely supports the 2 of them. Later, the girl left that place. It was the first time she learned about sheep in the outside world and saw what sheep horns looked like. But she still couldn't understand why her father gave her such a name. In China. No, I mean, in my country in the past, the word sable had another meaning, I said. Sable also means a whirlwind, not just the horn on the sheep's head. Whirlwind? The girl asked doubtfully. Is that true? So my father named me Whirlwind? I'm not sure about this. But you just mentioned that the whirlwind will bring the white feathers back to the sky, so I thought of it. But logically speaking, this possibility is very low, because the definition of whirlwind comes from the ancient land of Shenzhou, and that place does not exist on this planet. You can understand that it has been destroyed. Shenzhou? Destruction? What weird things are you talking about? She looked doubtful. I shrugged. You really can't understand what I'm saying. Just pretend I didn't say anything. For Kurapika, who already understood the culture of my hometown, it was no problem. He couldn't help but laugh secretly while sitting aside. But, Amber, if what you said is true, that the name Sable originally meant whirlwind, does that mean her father and you are from the same place? Kurapika said suddenly. You mean, he's also a time traveler? It's possible. After all, this kind of knowledge shouldn't exist in this world. I stroked my chin, thoughts drifting to the borderland of imagination. The girl bit her apple unhappily and complained, "What have you been talking about since just now? Same place? Time travel? What happened to my dad? Explain clearly." "Where is your father from?" I asked. "Nonsense, I told you he's my father, so of course he's from our country," she said, dissatisfied. "Did your father ever leave the country?" "No." "This is suspicious. Since he's never left, how does he know about animals like sheep?" "Who knows? Maybe he read it in a book," she said. "He can't get out. Legend says a sea monster named Elsie in the sea guards the country. Anyone who tries to leave gets eaten." "A sea monster?" I asked, puzzled. "Then how did you get out?" "Elsie doesn't exist. It's just an excuse made by the rulers to close the island. Dad never left. He always said his lifelong wish was to leave this island and see the outside world. And then? Later, while escaping, he was captured by the king's army and should have been executed. He stuffed me into a wooden barrel and let me escape alone. The girl lowered her head. The air suddenly became quiet. I hesitated, then gently placed my hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry for bringing up your sad story. What are you apologizing for? You didn't say anything, I just stated facts, and facts don't need apologizing. She brushed my hand away. Though she looked lonely and sad, those emotions didn't seem to weigh her down. I know he wanted out, and he knew escape was useless, but he still chose to run and, at the last moment, picked me. At that moment, I understood he wanted me to escape more than to save himself, and see the world for himself. I haven't let him down. I'm fulfilling his wish, and I'll live well with it, because it's my wish too. Having said this, she slowly turned her gaze away, looked out the window, and stared at the distant sky with half-closed eyes. Her dark red pupils were made clearer by the light. At this moment, she resembled the father she described. Looking at her expression, I felt as if a thin layer of black mist covered her, separating her from the outside world with an invisible force. It was loneliness, a whirlwind of loneliness that stirred white feathers. He taught me to be resolute in pursuit of what I want, to live and to be free. The flowers in the vase on the table were already withering. She tossed the apple core into the trash and said, "When can I be discharged? I've had enough of this. Today is only the 5th day. The doctor said you need to rest for 3 months, Kurapika replied. Besides, even if you leave now, you probably have nowhere to go. It's better to stay here. It's safer. Don't think I'll appreciate your kindness just like that." She curled her lips. Even though she seemed wary, after 5 days, I found that she wasn't as repulsive as she appeared. There is a strange contradiction in her, which I sensed while interacting. It was as if she forced herself into a struggle. She didn't reject us outright, but each time the relationship deepened, she would quickly recoil as if waking from a dream. So while she told her story, she also said, "Don't come too close to me." On the 7th day, Kurapika and I went to the ward early in the morning with fresh flowers. When I pushed the door open, I found the window fully open, a gust of wind rushing in like a warm mountain spring. Then I saw an empty bed and a small note beneath the vase on the bedside table. "I'm already healed. Don't look for me, or I'll kill both of you." A short line of words. Kurapika walked over, picked it up, and read softly. Then he turned to me. I walked to the window and saw a pitiful rose trampled and broken under a footprint in the flower bed under the sill. It seemed she'd jumped out to escape. I actually knew she would leave because she didn't want to stay. I could feel her deliberate rejection of everyone around her, though I didn't understand why. But I didn't expect her to leave so soon. I thought at least a month. After all, she'd broken bones and couldn't recover so fast. But in reality, she not only ran away but didn't forget her baseball bat. "Do you want to go find her?" I asked Kurapika. He shook his head. "Looking at the messy traces here, I think she's fine. At least she's recovered well. Since she doesn't want us to look, she must have her own difficulties. I think it's better not to disturb her. Not to save trouble for us, but to avoid trouble for her." Hearing his idea matched mine, I nodded. After completing the hospital formalities, we left. In the afternoon, Kurapika and I went to the amusement park. This place is every child's dream. Even an adult woman like me, mental age nearly 20, can hardly resist its temptation. Of course, I won't admit I want to play. I have to maintain my dignity as an elder. I just want Kurapika to have a childhood like other children. When I explained this sincerely, Kurapika gave a look as if to say, "Only a ghost would believe you." It doesn't matter. I was in the wrong. I just pretended not to see it. Chapter 90. The colorful bubbles swallowed some of the dazzling light. The transparent curved foam distorted the scenery on the opposite side into an incomprehensible shape. Children playing in the playground passed by me, and I had a strange illusion that I was isolated from the hustle and bustle and dissolved in the air, light and shadow. Kurapika walked slowly and steadily beside me. In order to prevent being separated by the crowd, he naturally held my hand. This was nothing special. Perhaps we were all used to this kind of feeling that connected us beyond friendship, close to family affection. This boy is my family. I am happy for such thoughts and for such a leisurely and warm afternoon. When I relax, my mind is always confused. I don't know if this is a weird habit that only belongs to me. It is almost uncontrollable. At this time, I often can't think seriously about any problems, nor can I reflect on the past or make plans for the future. I am only willing to follow my feelings and empty my mind, floating in the halo like insignificant dust. At this moment, I am completely living in the present. To be honest, although my experience may be considered quite bizarre, after all, I don't think time travel is a high probability event, but in the final analysis, I am still just an ordinary person. Whether in the past or now, I am just an ordinary person, the same as most people. I have neither the characteristics of a great man nor any special skills that I envy. The only thing that is special is probably that I often have those relatively meaningless and lengthy psychological activities, and the ability given to me by God. Like all ordinary people in this world, I feel happy for trivial comfort, and the kind of relaxing, stress-free company, a partner that I can completely trust. I really need such a friend or family. In short, Kurapika, who is gentle and upright by nature, is the most suitable choice for me. As long as I stay with him, he gives me an illusion of eternity, as if such a quiet time will last forever without any waves. It sounds a bit lame to say this, but the fact is, I really can't help but like this kind of world. But it is not pure liking, but a more complex emotion mixed with liking and fear, because I have long understood that everyone in this world has endless possibilities. There are no restrictions of rules and regulations, no empty formalisms or isms of the previous world, and the operation of society is no longer as boring as the cold gears of a huge machine. In comparison, this place is like the mouth-watering forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, dangerous and fascinating. Perhaps it is only because I have never been overly afraid of death that I have the courage to say I like this world, because its dangerous side does not have any big impact on me. Or maybe it is the ability I have acquired that gives me the capital for such arrogance. In short, any explanation is reasonable, and I accept those thoughts in my heart that may expose my weaknesses. If I were to describe it, the world in the past was more like a gray-white hole, like a winter sky with no end in sight, but that doesn't mean it was pale, because I understood it, although not that well. I think it is too restricted, but this is the price it pays to maintain order and security, which is necessary and understandable. Moreover, under such rules, it is easier to generate warmth, because even if the human race as a whole seems so lonely and indifferent, everyone's heart is alive. I love that kind of warmth, which is the source of most of my hope in life. In comparison, the boundary between black and white in this world is much clearer. Black and white do not represent good and evil, but a more vivid contrast, a combination of as many possibilities as there are dangers. It is like if someone wants to hold a wild rose in his hand, he will also be hurt by the sharp thorns. The clown at the entrance of the amusement park handed me a pink pony-shaped balloon. I took it and watched the pony wobble in the sky. He also wanted to give one to Kurapika, but the boy politely refused. Cheerful nursery rhymes sounded from all directions. The adults and children around me were crowded together, almost drowning me in the crowd. My eyes kept following the blue shadow and the golden hair shining in the sunlight. Kurapika pulled me through the crowd to a more remote corner. Then I felt like I had finally escaped from the sea of suffering and breathed a long sigh of relief. I think we may have come at a wrong time. Today is the weekend, right? It's really lively here, he said. The shadows of the trees swayed, and dappled light fell on his face like bubbles, onto his brown pupils, burying seeds of light there. I slowly took 2 strings of white marshmallows made by the stall owner next to me and handed one to him. He shook his head, and I stuffed it into his arms. "What kid doesn't like marshmallows?" I said. "I'm not a child anymore," he retorted with a frown. I waved my hand casually, pretending I didn't care about him, and turned around to look for our next ride. Since there are so many people, let's start with the project with fewer people. But there was almost no crowded place in the entire amusement park. We waited in line for half a day, and I was so bored I almost fell asleep standing up. Kurapika was well prepared. He took out a new book he had pulled from his backpack at some point and stood there reading with relish. I squatted on the ground pulling leaves while he leaned against the railing concentrating on his reading. I glanced at him and said, "Hey, kid, let me remind you that reading in such strong light is bad for your eyesight. I don't want you to need glasses at such a young age." "Don't call me a brat," he said without looking up. "The physical fitness of the Kuruta people is better than that of ordinary folks. My parents have good eyesight, so I shouldn't become nearsighted. But you spend all day reading. Be careful not to become a nerd." "Bookworm? Even without looking at books, practically speaking, I can tell sugar from salt," he retorted. "You little brat, why are you still talking about this?" The embarrassing memories were suddenly brought up, and I raised my hand in mock anger, pretending to hit him. However, since I was squatting and had no real intention, I just waved my arm and said angrily, "Look at the other kids your age, they jump around and have so much fun. Why are you so unchildlike? It's as if you're here just to play with me." "To be precise, I'm here to play with you," Kurapika laughed softly. Seeing how easily he did it, I was even more furious. Just as I was about to stand and argue, he suddenly bent down toward me, his soft hair hanging like a golden waterfall, and his shadow blocked the sunlight in front of me. Fortunately, I halted in time and avoided an embarrassing collision. Hey, you brat, what are you doing coming over here all of a sudden? It's dangerous, I might smash your skull." Due to inertia, I still couldn't control myself and stumbled. I closed my eyes and steadied myself with my hands. When I recovered, I glared at him unhappily. "I'm talking to you." He raised his eyebrows, widened his eyes, leaned in with a cute, innocent expression, his cheeks shaded by his hair, only his eyes flickering with mischief. I knew that was the fragment of light earlier at his pupils. "If you don't want me to read and want me to play with you, why don't you just say it?" he said. "What? Who wants you to play with me?" "I don't care." The child had exposed my thoughts. I flushed with embarrassment, then felt anger at myself. How could an adult be tricked by a kid? Fortunately, it was our turn to enter the haunted house just as my temper flared. I snorted, patted Kurapika on the shoulder and said, "I won't argue today. If you get scared when we go in, remember to hold on to me. Don't cry out of fear." "It's my turn to say that," he responded. Having witnessed too many terrifying real-life scenes, I thought I could handle a haunted house. Born not timid, and half an atheist, though I'd seen gods, I felt confident. As I stepped in, I believed I was a brave warrior heading to war. But I overestimated myself. The haunted house, themed with zombie dolls, was styled dark and eerie. You enter a room filled with old dolls, it feels like an abandoned baby's nursery. Each of us had a small flashlight, and disembodied laughter echoed from unseen corners. I shuddered, coughed twice, then, feigning bravery, grabbed Kurapika's sleeve. "I say. Even though I know it's fake, the layout is too creepy," I whispered. "Are you scared?" he asked, gently leading me closer. I shook my head. "I'm not afraid." I felt guilty saying it. Two half-open doors shook in the stillness. The music stopped, and the silence was oppressive. I heard soft breathing or footsteps outside the doors. Maybe we should pick another ride. Remember the carousel? It's childlike and cute, perfect for a little boy. I suggested calmly. But it's hard to get a turn. Don't you think it's a shame to leave now? He asked. At that moment, a hollow nursery rhyme echoed nearby, sharp in the dead silence of the stagnant room. In that darkness, I imagined a little girl in a white dress, with hollow, bloody tear eyes. Okay, I think I can hold on. I hope I won't get too excited and accidentally hurt someone, I whispered, clutching Kurapika's sleeve so tightly it felt like tearing. We walked toward the door on the right. Footsteps approached outside. The flashlight couldn't reach far. Kurapika quietly shut the door and led me down a mirrored corridor. The floor had black and white tiles, picture frames and bottles lined the furniture. Purple curtains swayed. A dark pink bear with distorted features occasionally popped out, clearly a mechanism. My heart pounded. I followed Kurapika wordlessly. He remained calm, studying the structure of the haunted house. At the corridor's end was a secret room with a heavy, code-locked iron door. The room was lit only by an old revolving lamp. A puppet made of linen, a broken electric fan, a yellow-green sofa covered in big-eyed dolls, discarded cups, old newspapers on the table, and masks and skulls on the wall filled the space. I shivered as cold air whispered by. Giggle, giggle, giggle. Suddenly creepy laughter, bone-like friction, filled the room. I froze, fingers ice cold. A red alarm light switched on. Mechanical sounds clicked. There are 3 minutes before Jack arrives in the room. Please escape as soon as possible. Please escape as soon as possible. The monotone child's voice made the atmosphere even more eerie. As panic rose, Kurapika cleared dolls from the door. One doll suddenly cried, "Don't touch me, it hurts." I felt overwhelmed. I was terrified and realized I was too old and weak for this. Kurapika worked to crack the lock. I watched the countdown. Footsteps drew closer, real footsteps, mechanical, rapid. I panicked. Hurry, it's coming. With 10 seconds left, Kurapika cracked the door. Footsteps turned to running. I sprinted through the door. Before Kurapika closed it, I glimpsed a large brown teddy bear head with a rigid expression, nearly leaping after us. God, I struggled to hold it together, it was terrifying. I suppressed my scream, crouched with my head in my hands. Kurapika slammed the door. Jack was stopped at the last second. I gasped, staring blankly. My eyes were unfocused from darkness. Kurapika crouched beside me, hugging me gently. I thought you weren't that scared, he said. Let's get out. I don't want you frightened here. Can you stand? I nodded, startled and breathing heavily. I'm okay. It's just quite thrilling. I leaned on the wall. Just when I thought relief came, I sensed someone breathing behind me. I turned and saw a giant patched-up rabbit head a breath away. I screamed, punched the stone wall behind me. A beam of afternoon sunlight cut through the dark, and the rabbit head recoiled and fled, shrieking. Outside, crowds parted in curiosity, surprise, or as if we were freaks. I punched apart a piece of the haunted house wall. I felt ashamed, I wanted to vanish. Soon, amid staff's horrified screams, the park manager found us. In his office, he angrily demanded our parents. I raised my hand sheepishly and claimed to be the parent. He sneered. You're a parent? Then show me proof. I want to see what you, a child, can do. I stayed calm, pulled out my hunting license. Passers-by gasped in surprise. The manager laughed, waived any fees, citing maintenance costs, and even handed me a VIP membership card. After leaving, I sighed, I'm really not a qualified playmate. Not only did I not help, but I caused trouble. It's good you hit the wall and not the staff's head, Kurapika replied with a smile. You're still laughing. It's rare to come to an amusement park. Don't be so depressed. Kurapika pointed to the carousel. Let's ride it now, didn't you mention it? I couldn't shake the embarrassment or fear, but I nodded dejectedly. Chapter 91. Most girls in the world love carousels, but that doesn't mean carousels are interesting. Girls love the sweet, dreamy feeling they bring, the princess daydream that's almost inevitable. But obviously, I'm no longer at that girlish age. I'm sitting on the carousel just to calm my mood during a brief moment of leisure. Kurapika stood beside the wooden horse, one hand behind his back, the other gesturing for me to climb up. He nodded slightly, smiling. Princess Meow Go, please. I raised my eyebrows and hesitated, but didn't object. I placed my hand into the boy's pale, slightly cold palm. He bent down gently and used his strength to help me up. Someone whistled in the crowd outside, and I realized that even with so few onlookers, many were still watching us with meaningful smiles. The children in other seats chatted excitedly. They only cared about when the little ponies would start running. A few older children, prompted by their parents' gazes, glanced over too. They're looking, I remarked calmly. I noticed. Kurapika shrugged, seemingly in a good mood as he climbed onto the wooden horse next to mine. He didn't seem to care about others, quickly changing the subject. It's my first time on one of these, I can't really imagine how fun it is. But if it's for your company, then that's another story. Even so, I'm past the age where I enjoy merry-go-rounds. You're 11, and it's perfect for you. If your math had improved, you'd know I turned 19 this year, I half joked. To a tune unfamiliar to me, the carousel began its circular dance, ups and downs like clock hands, the perpetual orbit of the moon, locked to tides. I sighed softly without realizing it. Later, amid smiles from the crowd, Kurapika held my hand and helped me off. I'm short, and because of the height limit, climbing up is much harder for ordinary folk. Little girls needed staff to lift them. I'm not like most girls in that respect. Next, we rode the pirate ship and roller coaster. Among the screams of all ages, we two calm children seemed slightly out of place. Long-term training has made me used to weightlessness during jumps. The only annoyance was the harsh wind in my face. It always made keeping my eyes open a challenge. I thought back to when I first arrived in this world and was carried around by Hisaka. I used to be so fragile and timid, I nearly suffocated just being carried between buildings. But now, in under a year, I've changed profoundly in ways I can't fully define. Kurapika has always been physically fit and capable, not surprising then. Later, we rode the Ferris wheel again. I remembered a common saying from my old world: if two lovers kiss at the Ferris wheel's peak, they'll stay together forever. Long ago, I once dreamed of kissing someone at the top, someone imaginary and unattached, since I never had anyone I wanted to love forever. I'm not late blooming, I just never cared about romance. I prefer staying home reading novels, exploring tragic love and fiction rather than spading through my own. Afterward, we wandered through a glass maze. From afar, I spotted Kurapika and started to approach, but walked straight into a crystal-clear glass wall. As evening fell, the park quieted a bit. Some afternoon guests departed, replaced by evening arrivals. We entered a small European-style building, a mini-theater with free admission. Inside the performance hall, a woman in a simple yet elegant white dress kneeled on stage. She radiated regal dignity yet held a feminine vulnerability, like melted candle wax. She washed her pale, slender hands in a silver basin. I was captivated. Settling in a seat at the back, I watched her mesmerizing performance. She washed her hands like a person possessed, crying out in terror as though haunted. Alone on stage, she was the centerpiece of loneliness and madness. Then, amid a flourish of sound, she collapsed with a rustle, gasping the word Macbeth, and fell silent, pale as a wilting rose. This play didn't belong in this setting. Kurapika understood from my expression, I told him about this famed tragedy from my old world, one of my favorites, Lady Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Its plot involves Lady Macbeth urging her husband to murder the king and seize the throne. She's vicious and merciless yet truly loves him. Under her influence, Macbeth grows cold and detached, losing their emotional bond. Eventually, Lady Macbeth succumbs to madness, believing the dead cry for her bloodstained hands. Haunted, she dies without redemption or Macbeth's presence at the end. We arrived just as the final act concluded. The curtain fell, and the audience filed out. Seeing my confusion, Kurapika had the same question I did. "Why is a play from your world performed here?" he whispered. Amid the bustling hall, a moving melody drifted from behind the red curtain. Its curve was like a string of pearls in sound, penetrating my senses and brushing against my heart. I shook off the crowd, squeezed through, and moved toward the stage. "I think we should ask," I said. Others intending to leave paused, entranced by the music. I passed through the gaps, climbed onto the stage, lifted the heavy velvet curtain, and slipped inside. Few staff were tidying up in a corner. The Lady Macbeth actress had vanished, replaced by a young girl. She stood stage right, facing the curtain, separated from her audience. Hands clasped at her chest, she sang earnestly. I wanted to ask where the singer had come from but was too spellbound. Kurapika and I stood in silence until the last notes faded, and the world of the other world dissipated. "That's the most beautiful voice I've ever heard," I said sincerely. The girl wore a white flower headband. Hearing us, she opened her eyes and smiled. Her long, slightly curly aquablue hair reflected the dim stage light like moonbeams trapped in darkness. "Thank you," she replied. "Hello, my name is Liz. I'm Iku-san, and this is Kurapika." I returned the introduction. "Are you an actor here?" She looked puzzled. "No, I just happened to come onto the stage." Her skirt billowed softly. "I like singing on any stage." An actress sprinted across the stage. I grabbed Liz's arm. The Lady Macbeth vibe was gone. She looked gently curious. "What is it?" Is today's play indeed Lady Macbeth?" "Yes," she nodded. "May I ask, do you know who wrote the script?" When she looked somewhat blank, I felt awkward continuing. Her stage presence contrasted her quiet nature. "I do, it's written by our boss himself." She leaned forward, fragile as porcelain. "Would you like me to take you to meet him?" Everything progressed more smoothly than I expected. I glanced at Kurapika, he whispered a few words to Liz, then came to my side. "Thank you, ma'am," I said. She blinked, European-style double lids wide. She nodded and led us backstage. Down a twisting corridor, we entered a lounge. There, a man in his early 30s sat reading a newspaper, smoking, with a half cup of cold coffee before him. His messy auburn hair was tied in a small braid, his beard was untrimmed, a reddish echo of his hair. "Oh. Melinda, you're here. Why didn't you knock? You never do. Come in. And you too. The illegitimate children here for alimony?" "No, Mr. William, they're here to see you," the actress said. "Oh, I see." He lowered his paper, gazed at Iku-san and Kurapika. "You too. How can I help?" "William?" I asked. "William Shakespeare? My name is so famous that even kids know it." You're from another world," I interrupted bluntly. At that moment, his unhurried half-closed eyes snapped wide in shock. Chapter 92. In fact, time travel isn't unique. If it happens once, it can happen twice. Even if I met someone like me from another world, it wouldn't be strange. But this uncle with messy red hair, except for the hair color, hardly matched my image of Shakespeare's prominent forehead. Unless he also changed bodies when traveling through time. He stubbed out his cigarette in the ashtray on the small coffee table, overflowing with cigarette butts. Then he fished a crumpled pack from his pocket, lit another cigarette, and inhaled deeply. The red ember glowed like a burning star amidst the smoke. I've lived in this world for at least a dozen years, and that's the first time I've met another time traveler, he sniffed, pinching the cigarette between his fingers. Little girl, what's your name? Amber, I replied. Then I added thoughtfully, and Lynn Amber, both are my names. I felt Kurapika watching me from the side. Amber? As I recall, that means someone about to die? It's a brave name. He paused, chin in hand, then smiled. Thank you. But my attention was elsewhere. Who are you? You can't really be Shakespeare. I'm afraid I must disappoint you. He swallowed the cigarette in one draw, extinguished it again, and sighed. I'm just an ordinary scholar. Shakespeare's plays are my specialty. But I was inexplicably transported here halfway through writing an academic paper, A World Without Shakespeare. And I needed money, so I borrowed William Shakespeare's name to write scripts and pay the bills. Of course, the real literary giant would be far luckier than this. Some of my scripts draw on Shakespeare, others are original. About 7 or 8 years ago, I opened my own theater here, not in the amusement park. I perform here for a fee. He smiled, glancing at the woman seated with a cup of hot coffee. My theater thrives thanks to Melinda. She's an excellent actor. I followed his gaze. Melinda looked to be in her early 30s, her acting obvious to all. Like me, this uncle didn't react too strongly to meeting a fellow time traveler, but I still felt a deep sense of kinship, as if we were fellow countrymen, even though in his previous life he was Australian. We spent the afternoon talking about families and homeland, from pre-time travel geopolitics to inscriptions on incense burners. He painted vivid images of Australia, emus and kangaroos roaming endless yellow plains, summer droughts lasting years, sandstorms, and colorful parrots in eucalyptus trees. Ranch land with grazing sheep waiting longingly for the rainy season, whose arrival would sometimes take years. I felt enlightened by it all. In Australia, Catholicism and Christianity dominate, but this gentleman had been a mild Buddhist. When I asked his real name, he said he abandoned it long ago. If anyone prefers not to call him Shakespeare, they could just say William, it was common enough. Unlike me, who gained a new body via time travel, he didn't. His travel followed the cliché. He died in an accident, then awoke in an alley here, still in his pajamas. Our mutual understanding and admiration grew strong. If Kurapika hadn't insisted on dragging me home, I could have popped champagne and chatted with this uncle until dawn. I described international politics from the last decade, and in his eyes, surprised, I assured him that Notre Dame de Paris had burned in 2019. He nodded, unsurprised. He'd been here 10 years, events from my old world had become distant fairy tales. I knew one day I'd be like him. Forgetting is a human trait, the essence of memory. Forgetting brings pain, but also relief. Kurapika firmly opposed me drinking. I'm a minor, despite my insistence that mentally I'm 19. He pretended not to hear. At around 9:30 that evening, he rejected William's invitation to dinner with me. He decisively dragged me away. His round eyes were serious and sharp. Meeting someone from the old world felt warm, but I felt it rude to linger. I went along with Kurapika. William didn't stop us, he just smiled, regretted it, and exchanged numbers with me. I promised we'd visit again if we had time. City nightlife is just another day, and the park's tourist flow remained strong. As we walked out, theater staff paused to greet William. He responded slowly, one by one. He looked tall and hunched, in shabby clothes and unkempt hair, hardly the image of a theater owner, more like a neurotic, chain-smoking artist. By the time we left, I bet I'd inhaled more second-hand smoke than in the past 20 years combined. William walked us to the park gate and said he'd be performing here over the next days. When we said goodbye, he crouched and hugged me, saying if he hadn't come here, his daughter would now be this age. He mentioned he had a wife in his past world, and they'd been married less than 2 months when he died and traveled. Afterwards, I took Kurapika to dinner. I felt guilty. We'd planned the park visit, but I dismantled the haunted house earlier, then lingered in the theater so long Kurapika hadn't eaten. Kids at his age still grow fast. We've lived together over half a year. I knew his tastes. To apologize, I ordered all his favorites. But he was quiet during dinner. I feared he was angry. Today, I cleared my throat. I'm sorry I didn't give you a better experience. I promise next time no house demolitions or theater detours. As compensation, how about we come again? I asked, anxious. Are you still upset with me? Come again next time, he echoed. Then, in that strange tone that wasn't a question, okay. But not just next time, next time, next time, next time, next time, no matter how many, you always, always come with me, okay? I tried to reassure him. But didn't you say you had no interest in amusement parks? That you just came for me? I stepped backward, hand lifting hair from behind my ears. He grabbed my wrist. What's wrong? I asked, stunned. For a moment, I feared he'd lash out, but that was absurd. Kurapika would never hurt me unless someone had a needle in his head. Night was dim, I couldn't see his face well. But his eyes. Dim black pools, yet I sensed a crimson flicker, like flame in water. His expression baffled me. Was it sadness? Vulnerability he hid? I'd never seen him like this. He held my wrist gently, no pain, just a tightening when I moved. I realized he had to speak, he wouldn't let go until he did. I can't lose you. His voice trembled, anxious. Hearing that, the boy before me reverted to the wounded, fragile creature I'd first met, soft yet broke. What's wrong with you? Why say that? You're not well, Kurapika. I lowered my voice. His eyes flashed, surreal. Then he released me, stunned. What's wrong with me? He muttered. I stood speechless, unsure what to say. Why did he feel he would lose me? How could you lose me? You're my brother, and I've always treated you as family. I promised to care for you and help you grow, remember? We made an agreement, and I won't break it. I gently stroked his back to comfort him. After a long pause, he exhaled. I should apologize to you. I know meeting a time traveler in this world must be hard. I shouldn't have interrupted or forced you to leave. It wasn't easy reconnecting with home. I understand how unique that feels. And just now, I said I needed to go to bed early, no drinking. I should apologize for my selfishness. I'm really sorry. I listened, awed. Then I burst out laughing. What? You're apologizing to me? How long have you known me? Where's your childish energy? Are you still Kurapika? Or did a wolf take him and leave behind a cub? I playfully pretended to sift for wolf ears, ruffling his head. Meeting another time traveler was a surprise, but he's not an old friend. Aside from sharing a home world, we don't much connect. You didn't stop me, no apology needed. I never intended to stay long. Maybe. He lowered his head and hugged me gently. A comforting scent of fabric. I inhaled slowly. I always feel like you'll disappear any moment. You always give me that feeling. He confessed. But I won't disappear, I said, tilting my head to show my face from his shoulder. He gripped my arms tighter and continued, I won't let you disappear. No matter what. I won't disappear even if you do nothing. We were close to the restaurant, a row of warmly lit streets ahead. We walked slowly. Light made vision clearer. We fell into gentle silence, seeming normal, but something shifted behind us, a dark, silent expansion. I felt discomfort, a warm dissonance, but couldn't identify it. Maybe I shouldn't try. Maybe confusion is part of the path. Or maybe it will surface in the coming days. It's still unknown. Chapter 93. 3 days later, we left the city and boarded a long-distance train to our next destination, a coast said to be dreamlike. Before departure, we briefly said goodbye to William. After that night, Kurapika reverted to his usual self, as if my earlier unease had been a fleeting illusion. He continued tidying my messy luggage and taking care of everything I hadn't handled. When I first agreed to the trip, I worried I wouldn't be able to look after him. But I overlooked one fundamental fact: from day one, Kurapika never expected me to take care of him. He handled everything himself, even tasks I had no idea how to manage, despite being only 13. We never argued, because he didn't oppose anything I wanted to do, as long as his safety wasn't at stake. If I got into trouble, he calmly found a way to help or simply stood by me. I'd become accustomed to it, but didn't realize how selfless it was. He is so mature at times that he hardly seems like a child. On the train, he sat quietly staring at the scenery slipping past. I thanked the stewardess for the sweet milk she brought. The carriage was silent, except for the soft sound of me sipping. "Ichika-san," Kurapika suddenly asked, breaking the quiet. "What are your plans for the future?" "In the future?" I looked up from the mist on my milk. "How far ahead?" He frowned and thought. After a pause, he said, Until the end." I haven't thought that far. I set down the cup, tracing its wall with my fingers. "For now, I can be with you. But after you finish what you want to do, I don't know what will happen then." "Are you tied to me?" "No." I shrugged. "I chose to be with you. Thank you for giving me the choice. Beyond helping you fulfill your wish, I'm not sure what else I do." A mental image of a coin-operated wishing machine popped into my mind. "You'll stay with me until I'm done, right? If nothing unexpected happens." "What happens then? When I have no goals? When everything is calm and peaceful?" I frowned, meeting his light brown eyes, sunlit, golden, and stubborn. "Then, it should be easy, right? We can live a peaceful, happy life." "So, don't you have anything you want to do?" I blinked. Get a normal job? Open a store? Or become a professional hunter? Remember, during my exam, an examiner invited me on an archaeological expedition. Something? A ruin survey. I haven't thought clearly, but being a hunter would be fine. "Me too." Kurapika was silent. Then he said, "At first I didn't plan the future. But now I think of the end of my revenge. After it's over, maybe you'll leave me." "Do you want to stay with me forever? Is that your answer?" I couldn't help laughing. "We promised forever, but think carefully. After revenge, your dreams may change. Maybe you'll fall in love, get married, the world offers so much. You might not need me anymore, and then I could be a burden. I don't need a new life." He suddenly stood, startling me. His eyes darkened with fierce determination. "I just want." His words cut off as a clatter burst from the corridor. Before he could react, the box door slammed open and a blue figure lunged in at lightning speed, ducking under the table beside Kurapika. "Please help me, someone's trying to catch me," she whispered urgently. "Liz?" I gasped as recognition hit. Her aqua-blue hair still shimmered in my memory. She motioned for silence, like a hunted bird, terrified. The noise outside returned. I shoved luggage under the seat to conceal her, Kurapika, and I pretended ignorance. Seconds later, a middle-aged man and two rough-looking escorts barreled in. "Search this box. Something important is missing," the man barked contemptuously. "Something's missing?" I frowned. "You think two kids stole it?" "I don't know. Cooperate." He strode in, grabbed my collar to pull me out. He called me a thing, insulted me. I tensed, ready to fight, or at least shout, but Kurapika intercepted first. "It's not gentlemanly to attack a little girl," he said calmly, his voice low. The man tensed, veins bulging. He smashed the table, wood splintering, a non-user's aura flickered into existence. I snapped into alert, breath held. If this were a normal fight, Kurapika might handle it, but aura changes everything. With Nen, victory is never certain. Despite feeling pressure, Kurapika held his ground. He wasn't reckless, he fought to protect, not for glory, a blend of sensitivity and logic that made him unique. I readied a knife, hidden in my sleeve, ready to defend, but then the aura vanished, every shred of it, like a power outage. Suddenly the aura returned, stronger and clearer than before. The man jerked free from Kurapika's grip, snarled to his men, "Search elsewhere." His men panicked. One spoke, "Boss. We're leaving?" The man punched him hard. The follower flew back, crashing into the iron wall. All fell silent as the boss roared, "Go now, or I'll throw you off the train." They fled. I glanced and noticed a sliver of red under the man's collar, like wings, or maybe a pin. Kurapika looked at me, puzzled. I fingered my lips, "Stay quiet." The group disappeared down the corridor. A stifled laugh came from the opposite end. "I didn't expect to find you in trouble. Am I a hero rescuing a beauty?" A high-pitched voice broke the tension. "Kito? Why are you here?" I cried. A golden-haired boy, Kito, stepped in, one hand in his pocket, the other waving his little devil phone. "Hi, Amber-san. Long time no see." When he saw me, his emerald eyes sparkled like ripples on a pond stirred by wind. He pocketed his phone, rushed over, hugged me, and messed up my hair. "You've grown taller." "Ah?" I blinked, fending off the sudden affection. "Well, you've definitely grown taller since I last saw you 3 months ago." He pushed me back slightly, placed his hands on my shoulders, looked me up and down, and repeated his statement with firm conviction. "Really? I thought I'd stopped growing." "Of course it's true," he replied cheerfully, then glanced around the compartment and asked, "Amber, who are these two?" "Oh. I almost forgot to introduce you." I snapped back to myself and turned to Kurapika, who had been completely sidelined. I gently broke free from Kito's arm and nudged him away to maintain a polite distance for conversation. "Is this your friend?" Kurapika asked first, his expression serious as he looked Kito over. "Yeah, we met during the hunter exam," I explained. "Oh, I think I've heard about that," Kurapika said with a measured tone. He looked down, sighed softly as if weighing his own compromise, and then looked back up. Whatever haze had lingered in his gaze faded completely, replaced by a calm and gentle smile. "Thank you for taking care of Amber during the exam," he said. "Ha ha ha, no way, I owe her," Kito responded politely. He extended his hand to Kurapika and introduced himself. "My name is Kito, and I'm a friend of Ichika-san." "Kurapika," the boy replied, standing to shake his hand calmly. "I'm her family." The train hummed along smoothly. The 4 of us sat in the compartment, eyeing each other as Kito played with the little devil antenna he had retrieved. He explained that he had come because his boss had heard about my deeds and was very interested in me. He wanted to know if I was interested in working for him. To show sincerity, he insisted I come in person, Kito said, spreading his hands. "That guy is really good at dumping work on me. But the pay and benefits are great. Would you consider meeting him, Amber?" I'm a minor. Isn't it illegal to employ child labor?" I replied awkwardly. "Ha ha ha, it's not really a serious job," Kito said brightly. "The role requires your ability." The moment he said the word ability, a sharp heat flashed through my head, and I felt the hairs on my back rise. "Wait, Kito, don't." Before I could stop him, Kito blurted out, "I mean your incredibly strong physical capabilities." My heart lurched violently. He blinked innocently. "What's wrong, Amber? Were you going to say something?" Kurapika looked at me with confusion. Liz sat beside him, still staring out the window. After crawling out from under the seat, she had stayed silent, not even introducing herself, so I had to briefly mention her existence to Kido and move on. "No, it's nothing," I muttered guiltily. For a moment I thought he was going to reveal my nen ability. After all, making it through the hunter exam is no small feat. And you're still so young. Our boss sees great potential in you. He's optimistic. Won't you reconsider? Well, I looked at Kurapika hesitantly, only to see him sitting with folded arms, eyes downcast. He said, without looking up, "I respect your choice." "I'm sorry, Kido. I can't go." I pressed my palms together in front of my face and bowed slightly. "I've got other things to do. I'm afraid I can't accept." "Haha, it's okay, no need to apologize," Kido smiled, waving a hand dismissively. "It's a pity, but like your little buddy said, I respect your decision." A heavy silence fell. 4 people, barely connected, sat wordlessly around a table. The air grew awkward. I rubbed my hands, ready to change the subject, but Kido broke in again. "Since Amber declined, I'll stop here. But if you change your mind, contact me anytime. Our boss has incredible charisma. And honestly, I think this job suits you." He then pulled out a ruby necklace from somewhere and, without asking permission, moved behind me. I felt his fingers lift my hair gently, deftly fastening the clasp behind my neck. A faint but terrifyingly familiar scent brushed past me. The cold stone lay against my skin. Its deep red gleam, like a smear of blood, felt like it had cut across my throat. Kido's smile was innocent as ever. His green eyes narrowed in delight, his whole demeanor radiating a cheerful energy, except for his eyes. His tilted head, thick golden hair catching no light, made him look shadowed and unreadable. "This is a gift from our boss. He told me to personally put it on you, whether or not you agreed." Kido reached to smooth my hair. I instinctively flinched, but he carried on, unfazed. "The ruby suits you. It goes well with your earrings." I glanced at Kurapika subconsciously. He didn't return the look. He simply stared at Kido, expressionless, but his eyes held a chilling sharpness that made my blood run cold. I wanted to refuse, to say I couldn't accept something so expensive from someone I hadn't met, but Kido pressed his thumb lightly to my lips and shook his head. He already knew what I would say. He said his goodbyes one by one. I felt uneasy but managed a smile in return. Something about Kido felt different from when we met during the hunter exam. I couldn't explain it, but the touch of that ruby on my neck made me tremble. "See you next time," he said with a grin, waving just like he had when he first arrived. Chapter 94. I found that I couldn't take off the necklace Kido gave me. It was likely bound by a special restriction using nen. No matter how hard I pulled, it wouldn't come off. I couldn't even find the clasp at the back. I'm not used to wearing necklaces that cling so tightly, it felt like it was strangling my throat. I only wore the collar Kurapika gave me that one time to make him happy, and I hadn't touched it since. The red, diamond-shaped gems were arranged in a geometric pattern, like a bloodstain across my neck. Their transparent gleam reminded me of bitter red wine sliding down the side of a glass. They were the same shade as my earrings, almost the same as Kurapika's eyes. But even their beauty wasn't a tenth as striking as those crimson eyes. I had done nothing to deserve it, yet I'd been handed this clearly valuable gift. I felt uneasy. Kurapika didn't seem pleased either. We tried many times to remove it, but to no avail. So, despite the rudeness, I called Kido and asked. He was as blunt as ever, saying his boss had done something to make sure I'd keep wearing it. He added that if I wanted it off, all I had to do was agree to join them. I didn't like threats, so I told him there was no chance and hung up. My first concern afterward? How the hell I was supposed to shower now? After Kido left, my attention shifted to Liz, still sitting beside me, softly humming to herself. She had her chin propped on one hand, eyes half-lidded, gazing out the window while swaying gently with her tune. She must have felt me staring. She turned to check, met my gaze, and smiled politely. "We meet again. Thank you for saving me." "Yes, we do." I stopped fiddling with the necklace and asked, "Who were those people chasing you earlier?" "He's my bodyguard. But really, he's just someone my father assigned to keep tabs on me," she replied, sitting upright, hands resting on her knees. I didn't get a chance to properly introduce myself. "I'm Liz Aaron. I was born into an aristocratic family. I'm 16, and I dream of becoming a musician. Right now, I'm on the run." "On the run?" Kurapika, who had been mostly silent, finally perked up with mild interest. "Yup, you saw those people chasing me earlier. I'm trying to escape from my father's clutches," she said with a sweet smile, the corners of her lips forming a nearly perfect arc. "Why call it devil's claws?" I asked. "Maybe it's because of the family I was born into. My father is so strict I nearly collapsed under it. He calls the music I love cheap noise. My life is a cycle of banquets and galas. My appearance, dress, posture, and behavior, those are what matter most to him," she said with a detached tone, as though she were narrating someone else's story. "Today, I wore this skirt I borrowed from a maid. Normally, he'd never allow anything so improper. Honestly, I've had enough. I want to be a free traveler, a singer, a musician." As she finished, she picked up a lyre resting in her lap, hugged it, sat straight, and began gently plucking the strings. A cascade of notes flowed out like crystal falling onto glass, accompanied by a soft chant from her throat. Her long aqua hair spilled down her back, contrasted against her white dress and pale skin. Her drooping lashes looked like bluebird wings. For a moment, she seemed like a figure from a mural, an angel descending from the clouds. "Your eyes are beautiful," she said, her fingers still dancing across the strings as she looked at Kurapika. "How can ordinary brown eyes be so clear? Like the lines of a gemstone radiating from the center, with a transparent amber shell surrounding them. There will be even better times," I couldn't help thinking. "Thank you," he replied after a pause, clearly caught off guard. He looked away and coughed awkwardly. Liz smiled softly. "If you don't mind me asking, where are you two heading next?" "We're on a journey," I said. "Our next destination is Krista Coast." "The sea?" Her calm eyes lit up at the word. They were the same shade as her hair, yet unnaturally still, like frozen lake water, unreflective, as if dulled by years of etiquette. Her gaze held the polish of someone who had learned to smile through rules and restrictions. But nothing she said felt dishonest. "I've always wanted to see the sea. It feels so dreamlike. What lies beneath? Is there a lost ancient city? What does seawater taste like? What's on the other side of the ocean? If I let the sea swallow me, would I reach another world?" She plucked absent-mindedly, glancing up at me with a soft plea. "Please, can you take me with you?" "Aren't you worried we're human traffickers?" I raised an eyebrow. "We might ransom you off." "I'm not worried," she said, smiling again. "Ask for anything you like. My father can afford it." Wow. So that's how nobles think, I thought. Still, is it really okay to run off without telling your family? Even if they're strict, they'd worry if you just vanished. She giggled behind her hand, amused by my question. Of course they'll worry I'll get sick or disappear forever. After all, if anything happens to me, I won't be able to attend my wedding in 2 months. Wedding? I echoed in shock. Yes, my wedding. She sat primly, stopped playing, tilted her head, and said, Liz Aaron's 16th birthday wedding, even though I'm still underage. I stared, stunned. My father arranged a marriage with a business partner. It's not even fully legal. I haven't met the groom, just heard he's an older gentleman. Strong, handsome, and most importantly, rich. She placed the lyre on the table, took out a handkerchief, and began wiping the strings. But I don't want to get married. You understand, right? How can I marry a man I've never met? Even if he's rich and handsome, it's not what I want. She kept her voice light and cheerful, but something shifted in her demeanor, just slightly, like a flower shivering in cold wind. The white gemstone ring he gave me, it's like a shackle. But I already have too many locks on me. Don't I? She murmured. So many cages. I just want to be free. She turned to me, smiled again, and added, I want to break free from all of it. Chapter 95. We agreed to the girl's request to join us on the journey. Logically, I shouldn't have made such a decision given the potential risks. But this is another world, one where the ethics and morals of my old world don't apply. Here, I can do what I want, and follow what I believe is right. At least in this world, pursuing what you desire is far more meaningful than following some dull rulebook. So I naturally had my reasons for helping Liz. The small train came to a stop at a seaside station. As we stepped off the platform, the humid, salty scent of seawater hit us full force. White gravel spread around the station, covering the ground beneath our feet and stretching off into the distance. Stepping on it felt oddly weightless. As soon as we arrived, Liz transformed. She became a new person, full of energy. She stuffed her lyre into her inconspicuous backpack, clasped her hands behind her back, and with sparkling eyes declared, from this moment on, I, Liz Aaron, am free. Then she ran barefoot to a low cliff behind the station, kicked off her ill-fitting slippers, and tossed a white moonstone ring into the sea. The milky gem flashed twice in the dazzling sunlight, like the last sigh of a falling star, before disappearing into the blue depths, swallowed by waves. It was heavy as a stone, small as dust. You two are the witnesses to my freedom. She shouted, waving at us. Of all the ocean legends, the one that fascinates me most is Atlantis. The idea of a sunken city, shrouded in mystery, captures the imagination like nothing else. Its surreal mystique surpasses even Pompeii. The deep sea is alluring because it's unreachable, like the sky. Distant. Unknown. The white sand along the shore was stained caramel brown by each wash of clear waves. Up close, the water looked normal, but from afar, you could see the delicate azure surface, though not yet the rich sapphire blue of the deep. Maybe because it wasn't peak tourist season, the beach was quiet. The only sound was the gently chilling rhythm of waves. It was comforting. Time felt suspended, like being at the bottom of a frozen ocean. Sunlight refracted into curves, and the ripples on the surface became abstract art I couldn't interpret. And in that stillness, the only vibrant thing, the only living thing, was Liz, running ahead. Clutching her shoes, she waded barefoot into the water. The waves bloomed at her feet like white flowers, offering both visual delight and the soft, stinging kiss of wind. Her innocent smile glittered like scattered water droplets. Kurapika and I walked side by side behind her. Her long, aqua blue hair contrasted with the sea's color, and from time to time I imagined her following the waves back into the ocean, turning into a blue fish or sprouting wings to join the birds soaring over the sea. Freedom. What does it really mean? Kurapika asked as we walked. Would you say you're free? Freedom? I echoed. I guess it depends on the person. I feel free enough. Making the choices you want without breaking basic rules. That's probably your definition, right? I looked at him, surprised. Are you a worm in my stomach? You always know what I'm thinking. Because that's just your personality, he replied with a smile. What kind of personality? So obvious you could guess it. No, he shook his head. I just want to understand you. Liz darted around in front of us, occasionally stopping to dig up seashells. She didn't care that her dress was soaking wet. I narrowed my eyes and asked, what about you, how do you define freedom? Maybe I'm not qualified to talk about freedom anymore. I stopped, surprised, and turned to see his face clouded by something unreadable. So I smacked him hard on the back. He staggered forward. Holding his back, he grimaced. That hurt. Don't be so negative, I said sternly. Of course you'll be free. You'll have a future. At least right now, I can consider myself relatively free, he muttered, still clutching his side. And it'll stay that way. Freedom doesn't have to be absolute. Are we seriously talking philosophy right now? Liz had caught up, holding a handful of seashells. For me, freedom isn't that complicated. I just want to leave home for good and meet someone I truly love. Having the courage to resist oppression, congrats, you've taken the first step. I gave her a thumbs up. The sea here isn't much different from the one in my old world. But this coast is special because of its vibrant, self-purifying waters. At the end of the beach was a shallow cliff, and beneath it, the shore glittered with multicolored stones, washed-up gems produced by sea creatures. They were worthless, more like decorative debris than true gems, like ocean-born versions of broken glass. No one minded if you pocketed a few. They were scattered everywhere. That evening, we reached a coastal town. One side of the long street faced the sea, the other, a row of shops. After strolling, we had dinner and booked rooms at a hotel by the shore. The hotel porch was wood-framed and tangled with green vines. Warm lanterns lit both sides of the steps, and greenery crept up toward the windows of our room. There were stars on the sea that night, but no moon. The cool air smelled like foam and tide. The heat of the land returned to the ocean on the wind. We got 2 rooms, one for Kurapika, one for Liz and me. After showering and hanging up her dress, Liz sat by the window in a white tank top and lace shorts, humming. No lights were on, but her song filled the room, a haunting tune that felt like a spell, hypnotic and sacred. An ode to the sea. I sat behind her, towel drying my hair and snacking on dried lemons we'd picked up earlier. Thank you so much for bringing me with you, she said suddenly, breaking her song. Moonlight filled the dim room. I could see the gentle curve of her smile. I clenched my hands and replied, it's fine. Really. It wasn't hard. Kurapika and I are already traveling. But, are you sure you want to keep going like this? If you're really set on hiding, as long as you stay with us, we'll help you avoid your father's people. It's just. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Not the right thing? You mean because I'll cause trouble? I'm sorry. I really am useless. I don't even have much money. But I'll sing on the street, I'll cover my own expenses. I won't be a burden. No, that's not the problem, I said, flustered. Don't worry about the money. I just meant. If you stay with us, I'm worried it might hold you back. Amber, do you remember what we talked about on the beach this afternoon? She asked suddenly. What? We talked about a lot of things. I wanted to ask. Do you think I can really be free? She tilted her head under the moonlight. Her long hair shimmered, and behind her, even the moon looked shy. Chapter 96. Do you think I can really be free? The girl asked, her long hair falling loosely as she leaned against the windowsill, tilting her head toward me. The sound of waves spilled steadily into the room like a requiem, a solitary elegy without an owner. I can't say for sure, I replied. But if you want something, you have to try. Only by trying do you even have a chance, right? She suddenly hunched her shoulders and smiled, then walked up to me quickly and hugged me. Rubbing her cheek against mine like a spoiled child, she said, "You're so cute, you look young, but you're so mature. I've never met a child like you. Are all kids this sweet? That boy Kurapika is the same. He's not only handsome but also kind. I'm so lucky to have met both of you." She clung to me like a little animal, her soft hair brushing my skin and making it itch. I instinctively recoiled, coughed awkwardly, and pushed her back. I'm not as young as you think. I just developed slowly. Amber, do you know what lies at the end of the sea? She asked abruptly, ignoring my comment. The end of the sea? You mean, like, the other shore? I responded, confused. No. She shook her head and sat on the bed. The end of the sea is the universe. I blinked, unsure what she meant. But she turned, climbed under the covers, lifted one corner, and patted the bed. It's late. Come to bed. Isn't there another bed? I'll sleep over there, I said, pointing. But I've never shared a bed with another girl. In books, close friends always sleep together and whisper secrets, right? Just let me experience it, please. But this. We're both girls. What's there to be embarrassed about? After some thought, I realized there was no real reason to refuse. I'd be sleeping alert anyway, so I agreed. I drew the curtains but left the window open. The room filled with sea air. Liz looked thrilled, her eyes sparkling. She giggled under the covers every time I glanced her way. I'm so happy. I've never done something so crazy, running away, living with friends I just met. I've imagined this so many times, but now that it's real, it feels surreal. Lying on her side, she reached out and touched my face gently, like she was confirming I was real. If you're happy, then this must have been the right choice. Can you tell me more about you and Kurapika? I want to understand more about this world I've never experienced. The two of us? I paused, then answered, Kurapika and I are like siblings without blood ties. He's serious, smart, great at housework. A really capable kid. Liz giggled. He looks older than you, but you're the one calling him a kid? That's so funny. Well, technically he's my little brother, I said without blinking. When did you meet? About half a year ago. So, how did it happen? Was it romantic? Not really. It was raining. He had a high fever and collapsed by the roadside. I just happened to pass by and picked him up. That's very romantic. Where's the romance in that? Because of the sensitive history of the Korta clan, I didn't reveal much about Kurapika's past. Those memories held too much pain, and for his safety, I couldn't share them. After a while, she asked, "Can I hold you while we sleep?" Huh? I'm not really used to people getting too close when I sleep. Please, just this once. I've never tried sleeping beside another girl. Just let me experience it. But, hey, I didn't agree yet. Don't just crawl over here like it's settled. So cute. Amber is so tiny and doll-like. Over the next few evenings, we picked up seashells on the beach. Sometimes we saw solitary fishermen, or kids kicking crab shells like soccer balls. My pockets filled with coarse sand and treasures, polished rainbow shells that shimmered from different angles, spiraled patterns with pink dried marine life inside like preserved memories. A few days later, we took one last nighttime walk along the coast. The beach glowed under dim starlight and distant lamps. We wandered until we reached the gem-covered shore, and Kurapika was telling Liz stories from our travels. Suddenly, a strange scent floated past me. I froze, alert, held my breath, and listened. Kurapika noticed. He stopped talking and looked at me. A deafening roar erupted from the gem beach, like a crazed beast. Blood filled the air. The waves began to surge violently. Screams followed. I saw Liz's terrified face, turned to Kurapika, and said, "Stay with her." Then I activated Zetsu and quietly approached the source of the noise. The closer I got, the heavier the stench of blood became. As I slipped past a massive reef, the sight froze me in place. A monstrous marine beast, like a mutated shark, lay on the coast, chewing a corpse. Human remains surrounded it. It had slaughtered those people with ease. I forced myself to breathe and looked around. Then I spotted someone standing amidst the scattered gems, a small figure, shadowed by scattered black stones. It looked like a cursed ritual. Though the face wasn't clear, I saw a large cloak, and a baseball bat gleaming in her right hand. The sea monster roared again and lunged into the water. Its body thrashed a tidal wave. I ducked behind the reef just in time. The girl nearly fell from the impact. As the water receded, dismembered limbs washed ashore, some drifting back to sea. I ran toward her. Her high ponytail was soaked and drooping. Her bangs clung to her pale face. I reached out to pull her away, but before I could touch her, she screamed, "Don't touch me." I froze. "Are you okay? What just happened? What were those people?" "None of your business. Go away," she said coldly, head bowed. "You always seem like you don't want to be disturbed." I suddenly heard Kurapika's voice beside me. He gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "In that case, we won't push it," I sighed. "Come on, Kurapika. Let's go." Wow, such a cute little girl. That monster was insane. "Did you summon it? Why are you the only one alive?" A new voice cut in. I tensed. My heart jumped. For a moment, I imagined Sable bludgeoning Liz with her bat. Thankfully, she ignored Liz completely and walked the other way. "Wait!" Liz called after her, her tone soft and sweet. "You're covered in blood. I brought alcohol and bandages. If you're hurt, I can patch you up, okay?" Sable paused. "I don't know you. Don't waste your time. Let go." "I won't." Liz grabbed her wrists tightly, refusing to release her. "What's wrong with you? I'm broke, there's no ransom here. Back off." "I don't want money," Liz said gently. "I just care about you. I'm curious about your story." "You're interested in my story?" Sable asked, sneering. "Yeah." Liz nodded, eyes shining. "Because I've finally found freedom, and I want to cherish every encounter fate brings me." Chapter 97. I don't know what Liz said to convince Sable, but I never expected such a difficult girl to actually come back with us to the hotel. Though this place was close to the last city, the coincidence stunned me. It had only been 10 days since I saw her in the hospital, her rib injury hadn't healed yet. Yet here she was, appearing before us again in such a dramatic way. Sable changed into clean clothes and washed off the blood. Liz examined her and found only a few minor scratches, only the rib injury was still fresh. All other wounds were superficial and easily disinfected. "My name is Liz. What's your name?" Liz squatted in front of Sable, speaking softly. "My name is Sable," she muttered. "Sable? Such a cute name." Liz reached out to touch her head, but Sable recoiled like a frightened cat and swatted her hand away. "Don't touch me," she snapped, her voice cold but edged with despair and helplessness. Even so, Liz remained calm. She gently took Sable's hand from her knees and asked, "Why push me away so much? I mean no harm." Sable bit her lip, clenched her other hand, then suddenly met our eyes, hers, Sable's, plea-filled, and said softly, "If you get too close to me, you will all die." We were stunned. In that moment, I saw a four-winged, white-gold snake flicker around Sable's neck, tongue flicking outward, then just as quickly, it vanished. I frowned. "What? Is it a curse?" Liz asked, rising slowly and sitting down beside Sable without hesitation. "How do you know?" Sable looked at her in disbelief. Kurapika looked at me in confusion. I was equally mystified. Liz glanced at me, silently urging me to let her speak. Then she said, "Of course I know, I happen to specialize in this. I can remove your curse." "How? Why help me? We just met." "Because kids like you are cute," Liz smiled, "and don't worry, if your curse affects them, it won't affect me. I know what this is. Do you know what you're carrying?" "A curse? My father told me." "That makes sense," he placed it. "That's impossible." Sable shoved Liz, jumped up, and screamed, "You don't know him. Don't lie." "But isn't he the only one who stayed by you?" Liz said gently. "And since your curse had no effect on him, maybe there's another reason he died?" "Stop it." Sable dropped her head, fists clenched, tears streaming down her face as she pushed away. "Kurapika," Liz said, looking back at him with a calm smile. "Can I borrow Amber for a moment? I need to explain things." Kurapika hesitated, but Liz gently grabbed my wrist and led me out. I already had some guesses, but it still felt surreal. I gave a quick nod to Kurapika as we left under his concerned gaze. Outside the hotel, we found a white-painted swing bench hanging from chains, like something out of a fairy tale garden. Liz sat carefully, holding a chain, while I stood in front of her, arms folded. "You asked me out here to explain what was happening, right?" I prompted. "Yes, you saw it just now. The snake on Sable's neck." Liz nodded. She didn't even notice it. "If that was your ability, you know what I mean." "Nen ability," I said solemnly. Kurapika missed it too. "It's strange. If Sable has Nen, why didn't she notice it? If this is implanted by someone, how do you know so much?" "It's just my guess," Liz said, stroking a little gecko on the swing. At that moment, I sensed a malicious mind, definitely a curse-like Nen ability. "But why help her?" "Let me reintroduce myself," Liz said. "I'm not only the eldest daughter of the Aaron family, I'm also a mind remover." She explained that some Nen abilities cling to the mind like parasites. Mind removers specialize in removing them. I don't know if I can fully remove hers, but I'm willing to try. A gecko scurried away as the sea breeze rustled plants under a cold moon. "Why help her?" "There must be a cost," I asked, uneasy. "There is a cost," Liz admitted softly. "But she's so sweet. And, I'm lonely too. Maybe that's why I'm doing this." After pausing, she stood. "Let's head back." Back inside, Kurapika was pouring hot water. He looked up anxiously as we entered. Sable sat polishing her bat, silent. Liz nudged us out. "It's late, I'll stay with Sable tonight. Amber, you stay with your brother." Before I could protest, she slammed the door. Kurapika and I stood in the hallway, stunned. After a moment, Kurapika cleared his throat awkwardly. "There's only one bed in my room. We'll need another later. I still think it's inappropriate for us to share." "Yeah. I thought the same." We got another room. I sat with Kurapika, eating cake. As I bit into a strawberry, Kurapika spoke quietly. "When you left, I asked Lyra, no, Yoko, about the curse. She said it kills everyone who gets close to Sable. The nearer you are, the faster it works. She always pushed us away because she didn't want people to die. Now it makes sense. Was that sea monster caused by it? All those people died, and she was the only one left." "I can't be sure, but it feels likely." Kurapika paused. "I read about that beast, it's called the Lost Shark. Aggressive, deep-sea dwelling. They rarely come ashore to attack. A monstrous beast. So people died by it, not the curse." "No," he shook his head. "Death varied. The only constant was that they died." I nodded and sliced more cake. "Aren't you afraid?" I asked. "Afraid?" he replied. "If you mean the curse, I'm not overly afraid. But I cannot accept dying because of it. I won't sacrifice myself when I have things to accomplish." That kid is pitiful. But I agree. Yeah. It's tragic, forming a bond that could kill. He handed me a cup of hot fruit tea. "Be careful, it's hot." I nodded, secretly wondering if I could use my Nen ability to remove curses instead. There's so much I don't get. What exactly is the curse? How did Liz know all this? What did you two talk about out there? After a moment, he asked. "You'll know in time." I took a burning sip and sputtered. "Didn't I warn you?" he teased. "Let's sleep. See you tomorrow, Kurapika." He fell silent on that topic. Every time we discussed this, guilt welled in me. I could tell him everything, but I held back. It was my choice. And I'd considered it already. I could enter a coma to help him achieve goals, revenge, the red eyes, but I didn't think he was ready. I tossed the dessert box and stood. "See you tomorrow." Kurapika walked me to the door and waved. Chapter 98. The next morning, Liz came running to us, holding Sable by the arm, and announced, "From now on, I won't continue traveling with you. My sole goal now is to help her remove the curse. We'll meet again later." "Eh?" I had just woken and was still groggy. I asked her quietly, "Did you two decide this last night? Is it possible to remove Sable's curse?" "It's very likely," Liz nodded. I noticed they had packed and were preparing to leave. I asked, "Where are you headed next?" "We're off on a journey too," Liz explained. "But removing this curse takes time. To avoid dragging you into it, we'll be traveling separately from now on." "And you?" "Don't worry, my immunity protects me," she said, smiling. I glanced at Sable, wondering, these two had only met last night. Could they really work together peacefully? Ahem, Sable cleared her throat and blushed. "Thanks for helping me lately. I'm sorry for being so rude to you before." "Huh? What's happening? Did she take the wrong medicine? How did Liz manage to change her from last night to this?" After speaking, Sable stepped forward again and bowed deeply to Kurapika. "And to you, I'm sorry for when I yelled at you before. Thank you so much, you're a good person." I couldn't help but laugh. "What's going on?" She was giving Kurapika a compliment card. He was clearly shocked, took a moment, then stammered, "Ah. It's nothing. I just did a small favor. No need to thank me that much." Though I'd only known Sable briefly, I'd never seen such a vivid, heartfelt expression as that overnight. Someone so lonely, isolated, suddenly finding a companion strong enough to break through their barriers. If someone is meant to be alone in this world, how precious it is when they find someone to lift their curse and stand by their side. We exchanged contacts at the station and said our farewells before resuming our separate journeys. Kurapika and I continued westward, training while enjoying new landscapes. After seeing snow-capped plateaus and yak herds, we boarded a ship across the ocean to the country on the far side. While traveling, Kurapika studied navigation, pointing out our location based on time at sea. Even aboard the ship, we never rested. I analyzed Kurapika, remarkable endurance and sensitivity, but lacking explosiveness and brute strength. He's built more for prolonged endurance than raw power, and his calm, logical mind complements this well. My concern is that this balance only holds until we discuss the Phantom Troop or the Korta massacre. His emotions then spiral, creating dangerous impulses. On the ship, we occasionally helped the captain net fish or joined him to fish from the rail, though most afternoons yielded nothing. We spent hours on deck, reading seabird-delivered newspapers or riding out storms to build his balance. I focused his training on his strengths, knowing he'd learn and eventually, unlocking even greater potential. One sunny afternoon, I sat cross-legged on the railing, chin in hand, fishing while the breeze tousled my hair. Far from land, the sea stretched mythic and boundless before me. Kurapika crept up behind me and leaned on the fence. I rubbed his golden hair. "If you move around, the fish will leave," he warned. "Does it matter? We haven't caught any." I shrugged, dropped the fishing rod, and popped a candy. "Want one?" "No thanks, I'm not into sweets." I tucked the wrapper away. "Thanks to you, I'm getting to live like this," he said suddenly. "This cuts both ways, I wouldn't be here without you," I replied. "Have you thought about who you'd be if we'd never met?" I considered. Actually, yes. I'd probably be a bounty hunter. Or worse, a killer. Killer? Kurapika looked at me. Just kidding. But I might have become one. Though I hate killing, bounty hunting seems more likely. Me too, he smiled. But I can't imagine what I'd be doing now without you. I wouldn't have the strength to fill the emptiness. I might not even be alive. But you survived, I interrupted, smiling and patting him. Don't be sad. That was hypothetical. I'm very happy now, even love you lots. What? Don't say cheesy stuff out of nowhere. Huh? I'm just being sisterly, be thankful. I never said you're my sister. Hey, your rod's tipping, fish incoming. He cried out, and the rod flew off my legs. I leapt to catch it just in time, but the recoil propelled me over the rail, falling into the sea with a splash. Shit, I can't swim. Amber. Amber, Kurapika shouted. As consciousness returned, I opened my eyes to blue sky, seagulls, and Kurapika's golden hair leaning over me. Hi. Kurapika, I said groggily, what time is it? He replied, 2 minutes, and you already forgot? You weren't knocked out, you swam up by yourself. You swam up? I sat up and noticed a silver fish flapping beside me, its lip hooked. I caught it. His tone was flat. You caught it with my legs? Amazing. Don't do that again, I nearly died, he scolded. It was an accident, I mumbled, eyes guilty. By the way, I can't swim. How did I get up? Did Vera do it? The deck went silent. No Vera, no answer. Thanks anyway, I whispered. Back in our cabin, after changing and delivering the fish to the galley, I spotted Kurapika fidgeting, hesitant to speak. A pang of guilt hit me, was he still upset? I was thinking. I want a weapon that suits me, he said quietly, arms crossed, contemplative. Chapter 99. Choosing a weapon for Kurapika is a very delicate matter. First of all, the basic requirement for weapons is that they cannot directly injure people. It is best to use blunt instruments. Weapons that are too heavy or too large are not suitable for someone like him who is more dexterous, so our target is locked on things like sticks. I guess he didn't choose sharp weapons because he didn't want to hurt others. I asked him if he would consider using an alloy baseball bat like a sheep's horn, but he refused without even thinking about it, saying that it was too big and inconvenient to carry. Later, after thinking about it, from my poor memory of weapons, I suddenly had an idea and thought of a weapon that was easy to carry, had no sharp edges, and might be suitable for him. Nunchaku. Kurapika didn't know what nunchaku were. It was the first time he heard the word. I picked up a wooden stick from the warehouse on the ship and roughly broke it into 2 pieces. Then I borrowed a dagger from the captain and simply trimmed it. I then violently pierced 2 holes vertically in the middle of the stick, threaded a hemp rope through it, and let Kurapika try the feel of it. What an interesting design. Is this something from your previous world? Kurapika couldn't help but say after taking the pirated nunchaku I handed over. Yeah, this thing isn't very easy to use. You might need to practice a little, or you might accidentally hit yourself, I said. Why don't you try it first? Since we were going to try it, I was naturally honored to be chosen as the experimental target. The sky above the sea was as clear as a painting. I squinted my eyes, took a defensive posture and said, how to use this thing? I can't explain it clearly. Blame it on me for not watching Bruce Lee more often back then. Just figure it out on your own. I can't help you with anything. Kurapika looked at me, then at the weapon in his hand, and hesitated to take action. Kid, what are you waiting for? Do you look down on me? I won't get hurt by something like that. I clicked my tongue and shouted at him. So far, even though we are in training, I have never had the experience of directly attacking you, he said. Hey, stop dithering. I can beat 10 of you by myself. I hooked a finger and said provocatively. Then. I'll start. It can be seen that even the most talented people would find it difficult to use this kind of weapon for the first time. When I saw him stumbling and having trouble controlling the direction and strength of the nunchaku, I couldn't help but hesitate. Is this macho weapon really suitable for him? After several rounds of chasing, the kid didn't touch a single hair of mine, and he was exhausted. I looked out at the sea, then turned around and asked him, "What do you think? Do you like this weapon? If you don't find it convenient, we can think of something else." No. He stood there, bent over, with one hand on his waist, wiping the sweat from his forehead, looking at me with a firm gaze and saying, "I've decided. I'll use this." "Ah? Oh, as long as you like it, I don't have any objection." "Do you have so little confidence in me?" "No, no. How could that be? You are very talented. I have confidence in you no matter what you do. I was just thinking that there might be other weapons that are more suitable for you." The cool sea breeze passed by my body, the gaps between my lips, and the tips of my hair. I reached out to smooth my messed up hair. Kurapika looked at me, took a deep breath, and exhaled slowly. After a long while, he said, "If it is a weapon you brought from another world, then it is very special, isn't it? It is something that only you and I know and own, and I think it is very meaningful." He smiled softly, his golden hair and slightly narrowed amber eyes shone with an unreal glow in the sunlight, like a fantasy. I raised my eyebrows, looked at him and said, "Come on, continue." It took Kurapika several days to get used to the weapon. In my impression, all real nunchaku are made of metal, and wooden ones are not very powerful. When I asked Kurapika if we should try to make a real nunchaku after we get off the ship, he shook his head and said, "I am still very satisfied with my current weapon. There is no need to change it to a heavier material. However, I do have some other modification ideas." "What idea?" I asked curiously. He held his chin, as if he was organizing his words. After thinking for a moment, he said, "I want to turn the two wooden sticks connected together into two short knives with sheaths. A single knife is difficult to use as a weapon if it is not unsheathed, but a sharp blade has a greater chance of killing someone, and an ordinary stick cannot exert the required power in an emergency, so the knife hidden in the stick is the best modification after the combination, a dual-purpose weapon." When talking to me about this concept, I heard Kurapika say, "I just don't want to do meaningless killing. But if necessary, I will not be soft-hearted to anyone." I remember the day when I first met you. At that time, we agreed that if we inevitably had a conflict of interest one day, I would definitely use some means to inform you and would never attack you behind your back. But you don't have to do that. If one day I really stand on the opposite side of you, you can attack me without worrying about so many other things. I sat on the railing of the boat, which is my favorite place. There is a short iron railing painted with white paint. It is impossible to stop there. But it is precisely this kind of non-absolute danger that ordinary people dare not try that is more fascinating. People all have a little bit of this adventurous spirit, but my skills give me the power to stay in the imagination. Are you so confident in yourself that you think I can never hurt you, so you say this to me? No. I swung my legs in the air meaninglessly. After thinking for a while, I replied, "Maybe it's just because I hope you will put protecting yourself first, both physically and mentally." But what reason do we have to stand on the opposite side? If, give me an example. I also understand that the possibility is very small. After all, we will not violate each other's bottom line. But there is a saying that plans can never keep up with changes. Although I can't think of any reason for us to turn against each other, I just suddenly thought of the result of this situation. I don't think I have any reason to want to hurt you. Me too, he said, even if we are opposites. I can't hurt you. After a long sea journey, the ship stopped at a port where there was a long string of wooden stakes standing in the sea. The waves that rushed to the shore and then retreated made the ship shake. A group of crew members worked together to throw the anchor into the sea, and the huge hook-shaped iron block that sank to the bottom firmly grasped the ship on the sea surface near the shore. The ship stopped by the pier, and a huge gangplank fell down, connecting the ship and the land. People got off the ship one by one, carrying their luggage. I took Kurapika and jumped directly from the side fence to the pier. In this new country, it took Kurapika and me a long time to find a place where we could customize weapons. Kurapika handed his hand-drawn drawings to the store, explaining the requirements and features of the weapons. Then we continued to explore and look for new things in this country while waiting. Time went by in a long leap. A week later, Kurapika got his special weapon and we started traveling around the new continent. With the hunter license, it became much easier for us to travel between countries. Although Kurapika was not a professional hunter yet, as my family member, he stayed by my side, and it became very convenient for me to handle many matters such as cross-border procedures for him. Soon, another month passed, and we rented a small house in an ordinary seaport village, where we settled down for a while and took a short break. As a trip without a destination, we could make any decisions or changes on the way. The small house we rented was very remote, but it was clean inside and had all the facilities. There was almost no one visiting the neighborhood. There were strange short trees growing in the courtyard in front of the door. Walking out of the floor-to-ceiling window of the only bedroom, there was a not very large swimming pool outside. Looking out the window toward the sea, you could see the not very dense pine forest blocking the way, as well as the gravel road paved in the woods. The sparse grass half drooped its head, gradually connecting to the beige beach in the distance, and then becoming sparse. Going out of the door, a winding road connects to the road leading to the more prosperous town center. I like to listen to the sound of the waves and I enjoy the tranquility, so when we rented a house, we chose a remote corner of such a small town. There were many squirrels and raccoons in the woods, and occasionally you could see raccoons running to the swimming pool in front of the bedroom to wash things. Kurapika and I put 2 bowls under the gate outside the house, with some nuts and food that raccoons would like. There is a kitchen here, so we started to cook by ourselves again. I no longer bullied Kurapika to cook and wash dishes like before, but started to prepare meals according to recipes. If we want to buy something, we can go out and walk along the road in front of the door. In about 20 minutes, we can find a supermarket on the way, which can basically meet all our daily needs. Here, it doesn't matter if we go out at night. Although there are no street lights along the road, the stars in the night sky are shining enough to illuminate our entire journey, making the scenery become hazy and visible at night. During the day, we would train at the beach or go to town to buy a bunch of fresh flowers. In the evening, we would usually have a leisurely dinner in the yard, listening to the sound of the tide receding, watching the orange sunset in the distance connecting to the beach, dyeing the entire sea surface as if it had melted the evening sun. Our dessert was fresh local fruit, and when the sun was about to completely set, before it got completely dark, we would take a walk in the surrounding sand or loose woods. At night, we would play games or watch cartoons together on the carpet in the living room. Kurapika and I got along very well, and there were almost no disagreements or excessive arguments. Because this small house has only 1 bedroom, Kurapika has been sleeping on the sofa all this time. Fortunately, the sofa is of good texture and spacious enough, more than enough for a child to sleep on. But occasionally I worry that he will turn over and fall to the ground while sleeping. Because of the leisurely travel, many problems that had troubled me were thrown behind me. I hadn't contacted Hisaka and Illumi for a long time, and no one came to bother me, so gradually I forgot about my Nen ability. Such peaceful time lasted until one afternoon in September. I was walking slowly on the street with Kurapika, holding a bunch of newly bought flowers, when suddenly a creepy call came from the alley behind us. I was afraid, not because of how terrible the call itself was, but because the shadow it brought to my heart came back like an inescapable hurricane. I turned my head sharply, and then there came a familiar breath and a sweet and cloying fragrance. A girl with long straight black hair walked out from behind the red brick wall at the corner. Her narrowed eyes were like a delicate black cat, and she looked at me with surging emotions. "We finally meet again, sister," she said slowly, with a soft ending like a flower bud blooming. Illumi, Chapter 100. Sheng once wrote in I and the Altar of Earth. Every passionate actor is a hostage, every appreciative audience has cleverly crushed a conspiracy, every boring actor is because he always thinks that the play has nothing to do with him, every unlucky audience is because he always sits too close to the stage. When I read this sentence before I traveled through time, I always felt deeply touched, and I have been thinking about what kind of relationship there is between actors and the audience. Recently, I have had new feelings and can't help but want to share them with Kurapika. I have long had a similar idea that everyone is an actor, and everyone is also an audience member. The dedicated actors are hostages of their own talents. For example, for a profession like author, inspiration may be the most important way to prove its significance. Another example is that the top student who has been ranked first for many years will be afraid of being ranked second in a certain exam, and the stars are also afraid of being out of fashion. It is precisely because of too much investment that they will also be trapped, and the audience who knows how to appreciate will use a kind of support or help to smash the conspiracy of the actors being captured as hostages. Boring actors may be because they have no enthusiasm for life and are unwilling to participate in anything. Unlucky audiences interfere too much in everything, resulting in them always being involved. I believe that each of us has played these four roles, because I always believe that human existence cannot be summarized in a single language or vocabulary. As actors, we are sometimes passionate and sometimes boring. As audiences, we are sometimes lucky and sometimes unlucky. Kurapika asked me, "Are you also playing these four roles now? Whose hostage are you?" I thought about it and replied, "Maybe I am your hostage, because you are the one I am most afraid of losing. Maybe I am also a hostage of this peaceful life now, because I am afraid that one day such days will be destroyed. But the difference is that I don't need to rely on inspiration to live like the author, I just want to keep what I have now." He listened to me intently and continued, "So I understand. Yes, maybe we are all hostages of something." These kinds of philosophical questions are usually very obscure. Although I always like to think about them, whether I can figure them out or not doesn't seem to have much impact on me as a person. Even though I have been comprehending these obscure things, I have not changed anything noticeably. The mirror didn't appear, and for the first time I was ready to have a proper talk with her sister as myself. I don't know how Amber found this remote place and tracked down my footsteps. We found a cold drink shop on the second floor, near the window. From the open window, we could see the calm sea in the distance. The frosted glass cooled my hot palms. I swallowed and cleared my throat, seeing Kurapika's complicated expression. "Perhaps I should introduce our identities first," I said a little nervously. "This is Kurapika, my most important companion. This is Ikumen, Vera's sister, who I mentioned to you." Neither of them spoke. I turned my gaze back to Amber and continued, "Then let me introduce myself. I'm Lin Shengsong. Although I have the same name as your sister, we are not the same person. I was just forced to borrow her body." "Not the same person?" Amber tilted her head and suddenly laughed. "What are you talking about? A sister is a sister. So, does that mean that sister doesn't want to recognize a man as her sister?" "But you clearly know that your sister died 18 years ago," I said, lowering my head. "You told me this yourself." I knew my sister was dead at that time. She held her chin with both hands and looked at me with a very charming look, but I also knew that my sister would not die, because my sister is special. "What?" I started. "Shh, listen to what Amber has to say." She suddenly shushed softly, and placed her index finger between her two pink lips. Her slender eyes narrowed slightly, forming a beautiful arc that covered most of her eyeballs. "I have known for a long time that my sister would come back sooner or later, so I have been waiting." "You know?" I asked incredulously. Why? I said, because my sister is special, she said with a smile. She won't give her body back to your sister. Kurapika, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke in a deep voice. Then, as if to convince others, he looked directly into the eyes of Amber and repeated again, she is not your sister, and she won't give her body back to your sister. I won't allow it. I'm really sorry for occupying your sister's body, but it's true as he said, I can't give it back, I said with some sadness and embarrassment. If it's just pure dot, it can actually be copied through cloning. But even if there is a body, how can the soul be transferred? She tapped the table lightly with her fingertips, making a rhythmic tapping sound. I frowned, not knowing how to respond to her. Should I tell her directly? Tell her that I have thought about using my power to separate us and get rid of this same body. Tell her that I actually have a way to return her sister to her. I have discussed this issue with Vera before, but Vera insisted that no matter what method, as long as she left me, she would definitely disappear. So we ended up leaving it alone, and the mirrors appeared less and less frequently. Deep down, I didn't want to share my body with anyone, because all my privacy would be gone, which was as terrifying as having my memory peeped into. So if it is feasible within my capabilities, I would be willing to do it even if the cost might be higher. But I don't want the mirror to disappear because of this. As the original host of this body, even though she was dead, when I took over this body again, she woke up along with it. Something that originally belonged to me 100% was taken over by someone else, and the positions of host and guest were reversed. I couldn't help but feel guilty about her. So you believe the fact that she is not your sister? Kurapika seized the loophole in Amber's words and asked. It's not that I believe it, but I understand it, she said with a smile. I understand that their two souls live in the same body, but I also understand that she is my sister. I was completely confused by these incomprehensible words, and facing a girl who looked almost exactly like me, I also felt a sense of unreality and weirdness. Does she really understand the situation her sister and I are in right now? So, what is your purpose in coming to see me this time? I asked. Purpose? What purpose could Amber have? I just want to be with my sister. I just want my sister to continue to love me. But your sister? She usually doesn't show up. Even if you stay by my side, it won't help. How can it be useless? You are Amber's sister. Can't we just love each other like before? Clear out the irrelevant people from your life, okay? When I heard the last sentence, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Eliminate the irrelevant people. What do you mean? I frowned and stared at her. Don't look at me with such fierce eyes, sister. She smiled and suddenly took my hand across the small table. Don't you know what Amber meant? I understand you best. I think what she meant was that I should leave Kurapika and live with her from now on. I refuse. I pulled my hand back and said angrily, first of all, I'm not your sister. Secondly, I won't love you either. The person who was with you and had those memories was Vera, another soul sleeping in this body. The person you love or the person who loves you is her. It has nothing to do with me. I have my own life and I won't change anything for you. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can always come to me. I'm sorry to have occupied your sister's body, so I'd be happy if I could do something for you, but if you want me to disrupt my own life for you, I refuse. I said this clearly and seriously, and then I felt Kurapika pat my back gently as if comforting. I think the same as you. He looked at me and said this as he turned his head to look at Amber. Although I know there won't be any progress. But I'm still very sorry. The girl in front of me smiled unchanged, but the sadness in her eyes was so real, so strong, and so sharp. For a moment, she completely broke my defenses, and I suddenly wondered uncontrollably and without any reason, whether I was too cruel to her. She suddenly stood up, her eyes were clearly so sad, but she still maintained a smile on her face. That smile was more bitter than a forced one. She wanted to show me her gentlest and most beautiful side no matter what. My heart seemed to be broken by her absolute restraint. This is a curse. She leaned lightly on the table, very close to me, 2 pairs of eyes, 4 pupils looking at each other, the same number of eyelashes almost entangled together. She was so close to me, it was as if I was sticking to a mirror, looking at my own reflection in the mirror. No matter what you become, no matter how much time has passed, no matter whether you still exist, I will always love you, until the moment I die.